Hello and welcome to the ProdCast, where we discuss your favorite horror games one bite at a time. I'm your host, Kauflee, and I'm joined today by some wonderful people who, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm ItsGenichris. I'm a New York-based rapper, audio engineer, and streamer.
Alright, I'm AestheticPizza, artist, cosplayer, gamer, engineering student, the list goes on, we're gonna be here all day.
Yeah, I'm ProdCharles. I'm an Australian horror game fan with a YouTube channel.
Who are you? I don't know you. I've never heard of you before in my life.
I don't know.
We can't feed the homeless guys. Come on.
Where'd this guy come from?
him in here.
All right.
Randomly.
Alright, you know what? We'll let it go. Sassy.
Okay.
Hello, I'm SassyDemon. I work on FNF mods and make FNF covers who doesn't sleep at all due to ambitions.
W.
Yo, I'm Sekkret. I'm a UK music producer, and well, I like horror games as well.
That's good.
I'm Tavis. I am a furry artist who occasionally streams, and I mod for everybody on the face of this earth, I swear to God.
You're the what's that one guy from the Amazing World of Gumball? You're that guy, but Twitch modding.
Exactly.
He's Larry. He's Larry.
Larry.
He's everyone's favorite babysitter.
Really, honestly.
Okay,
So, Kauflee, what are we discussing today?
Your mom.
I don't know.
Oh, all right, guys. Yeah, congratulations. Thank you for watching. Be sure to leave a like.
Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah. Catch you in the next one.
So,
The next one's gonna. Don't worry, guys.
Tap that bell, like...
Yeah, exactly.
one's
Put it
gonna
in
be
your watch
afterward.
later.
Right.
So today we're discussing Five Nights at Freddy's, because the movie is coming up in like 4 days now, or 3
We're
for some
doing a
people.
Tombstone
Hell yeah.
song about that.
What?
Is this where you wanna be?
And
I love Chuck E. Cheese.
Me too.
I love
Get out.
their pizza.
I haven't been to a Chuck E. Cheese since I was like 6. So
Okay,
I've
no,
never
we
been
don't
to a
even have
Chuck E. Cheese.
here,
Oh,
so...
Yeah.
It's
Honestly,
a thing.
Honestly, that's one source of trauma you guys don't have in Australia, as far as I'm concerned.
I love
It balances
Chuck E.
out.
Cheese.
Listen, but it's the animatronics, you don't have to deal with those. That's one source of trauma. In my honest opinion, it balances out the giant spiders and scorpions, and
It's
Right.
because, okay,
It
it's
doesn't
because
balance
they
it out
don't
for me.
upgrade the animatronics and they don't look after them. Okay, this is... Don't get me started. This is literally like my career.
Okay.
Alright, Kauflee, what are we talking about?
Alright, guys. Step
so-
1. The mimic.
Yeah, the mimic. That's
The
our first topic.
mimic!
Alright. Prod, what do you know about the mimic? Because
Absolutely nothing.
Okay,
That's-
guys.
yeah,
I have
that's
never
the thing
played-
in
so,
D&D that, like,
I'll give
pretends
you-
to be a box.
Oh, okay. So it's like an RPG then, like so you go to a chest and you open it and it's a monster instead.
Yeah, basically, totally.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
let
So
me-
anything
okay.
anything past.
I heard of those in Minecraft. I'm pretty sure they're called like trap chests.
No,
Yeah,
so okay,
I think.
mimics. So the
Oh my
mimic
God.
that Prod is referring to is a very common trope in like RPG, D&D type games where you'll open a chest and then it'll turn into like a monster. It's like a chest with a mouth. It'll try and like eat you. It's a very common
Yeah.
trope in RPG
Yeah.
games. So
And that's kinda what the mimic in FNAF does.
kind
not
of.
at all,
So
actually, not even close.
Yeah. All right, guys, it's time for a patented ItsGenichris explanation because everybody planned this. This was gonna happen from frame 1.
Let's
do you
go.
wanna do a
Prod,
quick
you wanna tell
wiki
us what you
link?
know
Do we
about
wanna steal off the wiki?
All right, guys. So the mimic is
Jesus.
one day this robot had an identity crisis, right? He was like, "Man, I kind of don't know who I am." And then he saw this. He saw this kid, and he was like, "That's me as fuck. I'm not gonna lie."
This is such a poor
It's
retelling
just
of that
like me,
part of the
for real,
lore.
for real.
This is, it does not, it's a little
So-
more nuanced than that.
Yeah. No. Okay.
I've
So.
read the books and I know this.
So-
Come on.
So, an actual explanation for those who are unaware. The Mimic was a program called Mimic 1, created by, I believe his name is Edwin,
Yes.
from the books, the Tales from the Pizzaplex books. At first designed to play games and entertain his son. I believe the Mimic ended up killing him, if I recall.
No, I'm pretty sure the
no, he
son
did
died
not,
in like
actually.
a car accident.
No,
and
it was a
then-
car accident, yes. And then the
Yeah.
Mimic it wasn't intended to mimic anything, from my recall. It was intended to
The
specifically
mimic cocked the smirk from the guy who made it, and
Right.
like the rage and stuff in form of agony,
Right.
which I didn't really understand myself, got like
So-
burnt into him, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Damn, I'm mad as hell."
Right, so the
I'm mad
mimic
as fuck.
was designed to copy essentially the caretaker role that Edwin was supposed to have for his son. However, agony, which is a form of energy in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe created from the intense suffering that happens after death.
It's
Apparent-
a specific type of remnant, technically.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So Remnant is described as exactly what it sounds like. It is what remains of the soul after death. The whole thing
Oh.
is not left behind. Only part of it is. And
it's like a more
Okay.
advanced version of ghosts, and it kind of explains how like there can be multiple possessions, but only like a small set of victims, because it's not 2014 anymore.
Oh,
We don't
yeah.
sit there like,
Oh,
oh yeah, like
so-
20 people died.
Right, so it's
Yeah.
Is this,
described in it's actually confirmed at this point in most people's heads that the fun times are possessed by the same souls from the missing children's incident. in the
I
first-
don't know about that
Ah.
one.
It
I
would
don't
make
know
sense.
Oh,
about
we're
that.
already in debate
Let's-
territory.
That's
Well, that's what this
don't get me
podcast is
started on
about.
that.
All
All right,
I
yeah,
have
I-
sources on that one, because I will
Okay.
say that they definitely make up a lot of like the like 1 to 3.
Yeah, and I'll
But-
cite my sources. My sources.
So these
are
these
that-
mimics and the mimic and the remnants, these are things that are introduced in the books. and they're present in the
yeah,
games.
well, okay, the Remnant
First
as a
in the books.
concept. No, Remnant as a concept was introduced in FNAF 6 through
Correct.
No,
Got it,
actually.
yeah.
blueprints.
Yeah, it
the
was actually, yeah,
blueprints
never mind.
from. It was like a secret code or whatever. But anyway.
Oh wait, actually,
um,
hold on, right quick.
Yeah, it was
In the
oh, yeah.
system location blueprints, I believe there was like a mention of remnant, like remnant
It wasn't-
extraction or something
can
for.
take a
it
look.
was
I
not
can
in.
look that
It
up.
was not in. No, I know.
And
God, I know. I remember. It wasn't sister location. It was a secret set of blueprints that you gather in FNAF 6. And they
Yeah.
display with an audio log from Henry on your monitor. I remember
Yeah,
that.
it's like the
during a certain
explain
ending
the
that you
purpose of
get.
Now,
the
these blueprints were found in the files for sister location, because
was,
I believe Scott intended for them to be shown there, but he never got around to it because there was no
Yeah.
like office in sister location per se.
Actually, it has two references. It's referenced in Molten Freddy's blueprint and the blueprint of the Scooper.
Right, which are both
Right.
found
Yeah.
in FNAF 6. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just want to
I've
get this
taken
kind
a
of
look at the sister location blueprints real quick. They aren't on there yet.
right.
Yeah,
No,
okay,
the
that
sister
was
location
just
blueprints
insane.
were for the animatronics. But anyway,
Yeah.
just to I just want to be able to like kind of get my thoughts out because I know we have a lot to talk about, but I want to get it all out before my brain lets them fragment and
Turns
separate.
to mush.
Right, exactly. So the missing children's incident animatronics, which as we know were the base Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy, which were also the Wizards. A common misconception: the toys are not haunted; they are glitching. Their facial recognition system is glitching.
Yes.
The Wizards, however, are haunted by the souls that would because they were later repurposed into the FNAF 1 animatronics.
Correct,
Now that's
it's on in night 5 or 6 that it's mentioned like, hey, a death happened here. Someone
Right.
used a suit, and now none of them are acting right.
right, which the implication
it's-
here is this was. The implication is also that they were. Like, we knew they were haunted to some extent from frame 1 because they don't have the same facial recognition system, yet they're still coming after you. And so this
The
phone call.
implication is with I'm sorry, I'm actually not really following this. Pardon me if this is like the point everyone's making anyway. But I thought the whole thing was like they were already kind of getting there anyway, and then this is in reference to the toys. They presumably witnessed the MCI, and that's what made them kind of like fuck up because they were like,
So-
what the scallops stop?
Kind of, yeah.
being
So,
evil?"
well, here's the thing. That's not what the general consensus is, and that's not personally what I think it is. What I think it is the toys were given the criminal database because of the missing children's incident.
Yeah.
I mean,
which-
I don't think that Afton was caught yet, though.
Right, no, but that's why they had it.
He
is
was
because
caught one time though, because
here's
we
the
do
thing.
get that in the newspapers.
we
Yeah, he was
we
arrested.
know
I saw
We-
a good theory that he may have framed a different employee for that.
that's possible, but listen, like what I'm trying to say is
But yeah,
we know that there was a Freddy's location that we haven't seen in any of the games.
Yes.
One that happened before the FNAF 2 location and after Fredbear's. This is presumably the location that the missing children's incident took place in. Because the animatronics were decommissioned and then were made into the toy animatronics, which were built with security
Also-
protocols to protect children.
Can I
Oh,
Give
I
a point
understand
real
what
quick?
you're talking about. This is
Yeah.
supposedly the one that Fredbear's got turned into, if
Yes.
I'm following along
This is
correctly.
the
Yeah.
original Freddy's. What's up,
Okay,
Kauflee?
so there is in one of the books in Into the Pit in Fazbear Frights, it's mentioned that because like the kid visits the Freddy Fazbear's in 1985, and it's mentioned that the MCI happens then, like it's just found
Yes,
out.
the
then.
books
And so-
confirm
Yeah,
that it happened
and
2 years
there's also
prior.
the Faz token that has 1993 on it with the date of Freddy Fazbear Pizza opening. Or
Which is
1983.
FNAF 1.
Yeah.
Or no,
yeah.
yeah, 1983.
Or no. It's the first.
Yeah,
location.
1983 was when the first Freddy's location opens, which lines
Yes.
up with FNAF 4, as we see that's when Freddy and Friends, like that kind of show begins airing, and we see that Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy are around.
Yeah.
Now another thing that's worth noting. So anyway, that happens. The toys are made, and the Bite of 87 happens, and they close, and they repurpose the old animatronics, which are still haunted at this point. And now here's the thing: there is a heavy implication that a second MCI happened at the Toys animatronic establishment. Like Sassy mentioned, the phone call that the animatronics weren't acting right after something with the suits. But I actually would like to believe that that might not have been. I would like to believe that the pre-recorded messages from FNAF 2 were kind of left over from the original Freddy's. And I think that would make sense because
Yeah.
none of them are acting right. Well, none of them have been acting right for the last couple days. So it stands to reason that the call we hear where someone used one of the suits is in fact in relation to the original MCI. So anyway, FNAF 1 comes around. That restaurant ends up closing for whatever reason. That's the interesting thing is we never actually know why this one closes. Mainly we don't know because we know now that the murders happened at a previous establishment. So
Yes.
Don't we get confirmation though that there was murders there? Because we see in the Save Them minigame that there are kids who have been killed around the FNAF 2 pizzeria. So
not
wasn't it
two,
closed
I
because
don't think
of
it's
one?
explicit. I don't think it's explicitly like shown that as a FNAF 2
Well,
location
the
because
Save
it doesn't
Them
resemble
minigame-
anything.
The Save Them minigame could likely be the FNAF 1, which I think is the point you're making, Tavis, is that in the minigame, which, okay, wait, hold on, I
No,
need to
it's
preface this, that's why I'm about to ask you a question, Tavis.
Okay.
Which minigame are you referring to?
I,
Save
I'm-
Them.
Girls are fighting.
the
Yeah.
specific one
Exactly.
where, let me make sure I am getting the right one.
Is this a FNAF 2 one or is this a FNAF
It is
3 one?
it is a FNAF 2 one where you are going where you can get caught by the original purple guy, and the puppet is trying to lure you,
So
lure
Save
Wither
Them.
Freddy around. Yes, save them.
Yes.
Where you
Uh,
see a
I
bunch of dead kids around the pizzeria.
See, I know there's a map of.
Also,
Yes.
I will say,
Yes,
I've
yes,
got-
yes, okay.
Okay, so
This
the
game-
map doesn't actually like resemble any. Well, no, it actually resembles FNAF 2. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
okay.
about to
Okay,
say
okay,
that,
okay.
that basically
But also
perfectly
kinda
resembles
not.
FNAF 2.
It's
Wait,
also
is this
kind of
the
not though.
full map for,
No,
like,
no. So
Follow
if I were
Me,
to,
or-
I can DM you the image, Kauflee, so that in post you can put it up on
I
camera.
already found it though. So
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
so
just sent
you
it to
know,
the group chat.
It does actually resemble it quite well in
Yeah.
that you see where the office would be, the hallways, everything like that. You see where everything would be in relation. So I do think that checks out
Yeah.
to enough of an extent. Now I think, and yeah, even the wizards are where they should be. So I think,
Yeah.
there are dead bodies around there. So I guess now that I look back in that, I do not remember that minigame. And it might just be because I keep thinking of the Follow Me minigames from FNAF
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, because that's the
I-
FNAF 1 location.
Yeah. So we know that there were dead bodies in the FNAF 2. So I think it's safe to say that there were 2 incidents.
And I don't see why William wouldn't kill a
'cause,
bunch of
like,
people, anyways. So
But
it's
I would like to argue
also-
that.
I've also pulled up the FNAF 2 phone call to remember what night it is. Yeah, on night 6, he says, and I quote, the place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
Okay, so
Oof.
I would like to. What's the, I was gonna make a legal joke. I was gonna make a court joke. I'm gonna say semantics.
Holy shit,
I
Saul
think
Goodman.
we're arguing semantics here. My point is, the place closed down for whatever reason. Presumably, the second MCI put a lot of heat on it, and then the bite of 87 likely did not help.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. FNAF 2 closes, FNAF 1 opens. Now, I don't think we ever actually get confirmed why the FNAF 1 location closes, because we know that the MCIs that are talked about in the papers, none of them happened at the FNAF 1 location. They
I gotta be
happened
honest,
at the
now
FNAF
that
2
If I
we're
location.
recall
a
correctly,
little bit more informed on what's going on, I always thought it was like kind of a normal closure where it's like health and safety or whatever. Because I know that was
I
when
think
they
that
were
is the case
the
because
animatronic.
if I recall, the reason I know they mentioned in the newspapers that in one of the newspapers that they were threatened with shutdown because of the blood and mucus leaking from the animatronics.
Right. So the implication then is that the children's corpses were still in the robots. But anyway, so what's important to note here is that in the FNAF 3 minigame, this is where I was getting to with the Remnant, William dismantles the robots. I don't think he just left them there. I don't think that's like him. Knowing that he's wanting to experiment with the Remnant, knowing now that he is much more of like a mad scientist kind of character than what we thought he was in the third game, which was just a murderer. He was a killer. Now that we know that he's a very experimental person, I don't think he would have left those suits lying around. I think he took them.
I've got a question though with that. Do you think that the FNAF 3 minigames are happening like in a sequential order on the same night, or do you think it is multiple nights where this is happening?
I think it's night by night, personally. I think it would make sense.
So, you think that night one, or like in the past when these minigames are happening, you have a night one, he dismantles dismantles Freddy. You have night 2, he dismantles Bonnie. You have night 3, he dismantles Chica.
Okay, actually, I think it'd make more sense if it took place in the span of one night. And the reason I say that is because you see the parts gradually pile up. I think he probably would have removed them from the site at the end of the night.
Yeah, probably.
So I think them taking part in one night makes more sense. But
He doesn't have a chance to clean up the mess. Actually, I need to actually check.
And I don't know why
night.
he'd like just not do it all in the same night.
Right. No, yeah, and you know what? No, Tavis actually makes a really good point. Now that I stop and think about it, the night he dies, the robots are still in the room.
Yeah.
Their bodies
Also,
are still
presuming
in the
that
room.
this is like an empty, like cleaned out place, it would be really suspicious if he was continuously coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
like I think hold on, because Tavis just disproved one of the fandom's biggest theories in a single line. Is the fun times can't be the MCI victims because that would not make sense. Their broken remains of the robots are still in the FNAF 1 location by the time William dies. When he's killed, they're still there.
For my
Yes.
life, by the way.
It was actually a pretty common theory. And I think the reason
it
was
was.
because everybody found out that he was Remnant experimenting. See, my theory has always been that Elizabeth was in control of every single one of the fun times. It would make sense, in a sense, because Ennard's whole concept is making multiple parts whole. Now, Michael in the Springtrap cutscene says, I put her back together just like you asked me to. Not them, her. Implying that
Right.
Elizabeth was fragmented in some way, shape, or form. I believe that parts of her soul were in all of them, but Baby possibly had like the biggest concentration of Remnant.
I mean, like, there's a little of me in everybody and shit,
Right,
you know?
right. It's not that.
Yeah, that was
it's
one of
not
the
that-
teasers.
It's
I
not
was
that
literally
Ennard
just thinking
was
about that line the other day.
always their final form. It's not that Ennard was always their combined form. It's that Ennard was always Baby's endgame. It was always Elizabeth and goals.
It's the
But I have a
double
question with
entendre
that,
of,
though.
like, the spread remnant and, like,
Right.
oh, they've all fused into this one creature.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, team, I don't mean to interrupt our discussion, but I do actually have to leave you for today.
Bye, pizza.
It's alright.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, have a
Have a
splendid
good
day.
Yeah.
one, pizza.
Adios,
It's
muchachos.
premature, but I'll make sure you guys like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Oh my
Alright,
god.
have a
Please,
good
please.
one.
Please,
As long as you slap it.
Please, Prod's gonna fire us if we don't. No.
Oh god. But
Fuck your Christ.
I've got a question with that.
Yeah.
If Baby's soul is fragmented, then why was she kicked out from Molten Freddy? Because that doesn't make sense to me, at least.
Yeah,
You know
that,
what? That is a fair
thinking about
point.
it. That checks out.
That is a fair point. The implication is that Ennard is to some extent a hive mind.
And
Um,
also, you physically see them arguing with her.
In
like
the
a
source
dead
code, yeah.
baby.
I know-
So she's
yeah, I
a
know.
separate entity.
I
I
do
would
think
say
they're
some
separate
of
So,
them.
souls.
it could be very possible then that these are just unnamed children that we never heard about that were taken from circus babies at a point. Or,
Because
even more likely, it could be that these are the second missing children's incident victims.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
That's probably what people are talking about then, is that they are...
So is that actually confirmed? Like that's an
No.
actual event that happens in the
We
games?
don't,
Just-
we don't
wait,
have
wait,
actual
hold on, which-
confirmation.
Prod, for...
Second
which-
missing children's incident.
Yes, there were two. There was
Yes.
the one at the main restaurant,
Yes.
the very first Freddy's, which resulted in our main crew being possessed, and then
Yeah.
5 more were murdered in FNAF 2, which we know from the
Yeah.
Save Them minigame.
Because if
Which-
if
Okay.
the toys weren't like, if the toys don't have souls on them, then like, what did he do with the souls, the
Right.
bodies? Like,
He put them into, and plus
I
the
mean-
toys were decommissioned. So
Yeah.
even if
We
they
don't-
were put in the bodies, it could still be very possible that he just took them.
yeah,
Yeah, I would say it's safe to assume that the bodies were not stuffed. Because
Right,
of
because
the
they're
point
literally
that-
lying
Yeah.
all over.
Yeah. And he's coming from a point from some recent theorists have also theorized about like the puppet and like the stuffings. William might not have been the original person who actually stuffed the animatronics. It was very
Right.
likely the puppet.
Well, yeah, we see it in the Give Gifts, Give Life minigame that the original victims are put into the suits by the puppet.
And it
So-
doesn't, we don't know if I don't think we know if William knows about the fact of I think he knows about Remnant, but I don't think he fully knows how like
Not
the
at this
Remnant
time,
gets
no.
transferred.
Yeah, not at
So-
this
Yeah.
time. No, he
The
doesn't.
bodies were just laying around.
Right.
Maybe
I mean,
he
my
hid them
implication is he
somewhere.
put them in the back room somewhere.
yeah, because no one really
or
went in the safe room anyway.
It
So
could be
it's like,
very possible. I mean, it's not far-fetched to believe that the puppet put them in the robots very shortly after the murders occurred.
yeah,
Like,
I feel
it's
like the
not-
puppet would have done it immediately, though. I
yeah,
would think
that's
it
what I'm
would have
thinking.
just
As soon
been-
as he left the room, she came in and put them in the suits.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like,
Well,
why would the puppet leave bodies around while
Right.
while
Knowing that.
leading Freddy
how do
around?
we know that those how do we know that the missing children incident depicted in the FNAF 2 minigames are not from the first restaurant?
As
Because
you
of
can
the
see
fact-
in the embedded voice chat, Kauflee dropped an image, showed again on screen in the video, that the minigame, if you see it like wide view, is the FNAF 2 establishment. You can see the Wizards are in the back room.
But how do we know there's a difference in the floor plan between the FNAF 2 establishment and the one that we haven't seen? Because the FNAF 2 establishment is just a new version of the Freddy Fazbear Pizza, right?
But the toy animatronics are said by Phone Guy to be new models. So
This-
the
Got
fact
you,
that there's
okay.
2 sets of robots implies that this is the FNAF 2 one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the toys would not be on stage at the same time the Wizards are in the back room. Plus, we
Okay,
see Mangle
cool.
in the puppet's box as well.
That makes
so-
a lot of sense.
Yeah,
There's
so
one more thing
later
I
down
want
the
to
line-
check. Wait,
Yep.
there's one more thing. So, how do we know that the first restaurant is where the MCI 1 took place at all?
that's-
because FNAF
that
1
is-
can't. FNAF 1 took place in 1993, and
Yep.
the murders are said to take place in 1985, and so the FNAF 1 wasn't open at that time.
And
pretty much.
also, just using the games, like you could figure it out just using the games too. The withered animatronics don't have the facial recognition system the toys
Yeah.
do, so they're coming after you trying to kill you for a different reason than the toys are. They're haunted.
Yes, I agree with that for sure. Yeah.
So
The
And
toys
we
are not
know
haunted.
that, though,
I
and-
think.
and we know
Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
No.
the toys are not haunted. It's their facial recognition.
They're just.
system
It's the
does not-
glitching facial
Yep.
recognition. Yeah. Okay. Good. I agree with that. Yeah.
You're more than likely wearing the same uniform that the murderer wore when he killed the kids.
Right,
Yeah,
the security guard uniform. And also, a lot of the theory is that the same night William killed the children in the FNAF 2 establishment, that he didn't actually put them, like, they weren't, the toys did not get possessed that night. The theory is that when Phone Guy says none of them are acting right, the implication is that they were tampered with.
Yeah.
Their code was tampered with.
Especially
Because if they were...
that termination letter.
Right, yeah, you were
tampering.
Literally the same night you tampered with the robots. Get out, right? Or no, that's night 7, but that's night 7.
Yeah.
That's custom night. Night 6 you get paid overtime, and you're told we have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift, and when the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take the night shift myself.
So what I'm hearing, guys, is I'm about to make the biggest MatPat level theory of all time. Fritz Smith tampered with the animatronics because he's an accomplice to William Afton. And I'm kidding. Alright, guys, kill him. No. So anyway, back on like the topic is where I'm just kind of like recapping the lore till we get to the mimic, just so everything is like.
I was about to say we got really derailed. From
we
haven't even talked about it.
Up to it. I'm just
no, I think this is really good because like I think
Yeah.
even if we don't touch those topics just like off the recording, all those topics can be done in a later episode, so that's fine.
Yeah, because this is also kind of important for the mimic as well.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So the theory is then that whether or not the FNAF 2 kids were put inside the toys by the puppet. I just find it funny that the puppet wakes up one night and is just, I have to do this shit again. It's but
not again.
Right,
I have to do this shit again.
No, but regardless of that, I believe that the corpses, whether in the robots or out, were taken off-site by William later after the closing, and the remnant somehow was extracted by them for his experiments, which ended up resulting in the possession of the Fun Times. Now the big issue I have with this theory is that there are 5 children again in this incident, whereas other than Baby, there is Funtime Foxy, Funtime Freddy, Ballora, and that's it. Now you could supposedly say 4, and you could imply that Bon Bon is also possessed, which I could believe. I could believe that, which would explain why Bon Bon consistently calms Freddy down. Not because it's in their code, but because they're actively 2 separate entities, and Bon Bon is trying to ensure Freddy.
And it also would explain Bon Bon like removing themselves from his arm
being
to
able
like
to be separate from Freddy. So other than that, perhaps the 5th soul could be Yendo, because Yendo is one of the only custom night animatronics that actually makes an appearance in the main game.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see
Yeah.
that.
So,
Maybe.
but the point is, a lot of people believe that the missing children's incident from FNAF 2, or maybe even one of the kids' souls just didn't end up in a robot. Maybe that experiment failed.
Yeah.
But they ended up being the Fun Times. And as we all know, they combine, they rip out Michael's spaghetti and replace it with their own spaghetti. And then Michael vomits metal spaghetti into the sewer system. And then they just decide to have a hive mind argument and fucking Survivor vote Baby off the island. And so
they ejected Baby. She was the imposter.
So FNAF 6 happens, and they all burn, presumably. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, what if this guy stole this guy? What if that guy stole that guy? I am of a firm belief that the only soul that might still be alive is Michael. I do kind of believe the Michael being Glamrock Freddy theory, but I don't believe that William's still around because of Ultimate Custom Night. I don't believe Elizabeth is still around. I don't believe that Charlie is still around.
I want to talk about William, actually, because there's a story in Fazbear Frights. It's called
Room 20
yes.
something, right? What's the number?
Yeah. 1280. And
1280.
Basically the story goes, he's in like a purgatory state. He's having nightmares. It's UCN pretty much. And
okay, so physically he's still there.
Yes, he's still alive, but then at the end of the story, he explodes, and his soul is set free.
That explains.
So he's
that
not
would
in
explain, like. That would explain actually. That would explain the whole concept of the Ultimate Custom Night.
Yeah.
If it's a purgatory state, that makes sense then, because that implies that he is not alive nor dead.
Yeah, because it's not like an afterlife thing.
It's limbo.
Yeah, and so he dies at the end of it, and then his soul just kind of... It's
Presumably
explained
goes
more
down.
in the epilogue. No. Because
No?
in the
He's still
epilogues...
around?
Yeah, in the epilogues is followed up upon by he creates this giant trash
Oh,
monster.
not Trashton. Not Trashton.
Yeah,
No.
but the epilogues are questionably canon. But it's I'm of the firm belief that Glitchtrap is William. Because the mimic can't be Glitchtrap because it has no like interaction or influence from Afton. It has no reason to mimic him.
I do believe that. I actually do buy that theory, and the reason I buy that is because Ruin has essentially confirmed the Mimic and Burn Trap to be two separate entities,
Yes.
being that the Mimic has been stored away far deeper than Burn Trap has for far longer.
No, because the mimic had to have been like recent because Gregory helped out Vanessa with trapping it, pretty much.
That's true, but the implication then still remains that I still do think they're two separate entities. I still do think that Burn Trap.
Well, assumingly,
mainly
like...
because look at the size difference. Like, we know the Mimic is capable of a lot, but it's not capable of making its metal bigger or smaller. It's just really flexible. We know.
I
I always thought that
It's told that it can expand and contract
Yeah,
to
it's able
make
to do
that
that.
big of a level, though?
Yes, it
I mean,
can,
yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that William
Turns itself into a spider at one point.
Well,
Yeah.
I always thought that
what-
William. I always thought that he preserved his soul or life force or whatever in
Glitchtrap?
that burning incident in FNAF 6. So, because it was a simulation itself, like I thought he, whatever happens that is explained. I don't know if this is the explanation of a remnant or what, but like whatever happens to the children that fuses their soul or whatever to the animatronics, the same thing happened with William and his simulation, and then that led him to becoming Glitchtrap in the Help Wanted game, right? Because that was a video game, and his data was stored in that.
Well, one of the most recent Fazbear Fright stories, which has had a lot of people in a huff about it, because it basically confirms the nightmare animatronics are nightmare gas-induced mannequins, basically. And on top of that, I believe that story, or one of the stories in that book, ends with burning in like data onto discs and sending them off to like a game dev company. So I remember mention of it in one of the stories. I do think it is very plausible that William is still Glitchtrap. I still don't think Burn Trap and the Mimic are the same thing. And I don't think that because, again, like Kauflee said, why would the Mimic, who has never seen William once in its life, know how to like alter it, right? And to mimic him. On top of that, it seems like the heavy implication is that Vanny has been building up Burn Trap using Bonnie's parts, or at least parts from animatronics around the pizza place.
Except it can't be Bonnie because we see
yeah, I
Bonnie
was
in the
about to
Ruined
say,
DLC.
Well,
Yeah,
we
Bonnie still has all of his
see
parts
enough
intact.
that's true.
He's pretty well intact.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
But like what?
Animatronics. The point is maybe an endoskeleton that could have been Bonnie at one point, like a Bonnie endoskeleton. Because if you remember, Matt brought this up, and this is one good point that he did make, is that Burn Trap has claws. And the only animatronics that are known to have claws are Bonnie and Monty because they need them to play the bass and the guitar.
But to be fair, the Mimic also has a claw.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How I view it.
Even the Freddy.
Oh, and Freddy and Roxy, any animatronic that is required to have them has them for the sake of plucking strings. We know this.
And
we also know that. Yep.
How I view it is that, so at the end of the epilogues, the Mimic is deactivated in the basement, and so how I view it is that Vanny and Glitchtrap come along, and then she plugs Glitchtrap into the Mimic, and then kind of just goes from there, and then he starts getting the Afton parts, and it's a lot. I know.
Yeah,
He gets plugged into the mimic.
So your
I mean,
implication, what you're implying is that they're the same because Vanny, while still under the influence of the virus, uploaded William's conscience as Glitchtrap into the mimic. Now I have to ask you, then why would the mimic shed the disguise post security breach?
Because the Glitchtrap was destroyed in the Princess Quest ending, or at least not destroyed, but yeah. So all influence was just dropped, and then Mimic regained consciousness. And so they left, and then they realized, oh hey, the Mimic's still loose in the basement, so they went back and trapped him.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Now, so the Mimic, again, so here's the thing. I don't think we ever get, like, a specific time frame for when Edwin created the Mimic program, but we know it was before the events of Security Breach, or at least
think it was in
during...
the 80s.
Right. Well... I don't think it'd be that far back, because you got to remember, between the 80s and FNAF 3, nearly 50 years passed.
But actually, hold on. I think because it's implied, he says that he creates like costumes, or he doesn't create costumes. He makes the costumes from Fazbear into like animatronics. He has the endoskeletons and all that, and the costumes. I don't know if they're necessarily like. He might have built the. Like the original Freddy Fazbear's animatronics, he might have, or it was like mascot costumes, like how we see in the mascot closet in the where the Mimic is. It might have been something like those, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it here. The very first event in the chronological story that we know and we have a time frame for to some extent involving the Mimic is the clearing of the FNAF 6 location for the building of the Pizza Plex. And we know that because, like I said, it's the first canon thing that is mentioned having happened in the books after the Mimic's creation. So I still do stand to believe that it's around the FNAF 3 to FNAF 6 time frame, which I think makes the most sense because I refuse to believe that Fazbear Entertainment would commission a robot to be made and then leave it for 50 years after hearing that.
No, they didn't commission the Mimic.
Well, okay, but they knew about it. They knew about it, and they knew about Edwin's services. I don't think they would find out that Edwin is dead and wait 50 years to go check his place for things they can salvage. Though. Well, he disappeared. Whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Okay,
but then they go back and check.
Okay. But my point is, Fazbear Entertainment's a greedy company.
Yes.
Can you tell I only know what game theory tells me? But Fazbear Entertainment's a greedy company. I refuse to believe they would wait 50 years to go to the missing man's warehouse and try and find any.
Well, they didn't wait 50 years. They went like.
So they went there pretty shortly after he vanished, which implies that the Mimic was created not in the 80s, but closer to the FNAF 3 to 6 time span.
I mean, how does that imply it, though?
Because he went missing shortly after. He went missing, not a long time after, not like a horribly long time after, still a bit after the Mimic's creation. I think it was like a couple decades, but I don't think...
He went missing, like, whenever he beat up the Mimic, he just left. He went missing that way.
Right, so, hold on, let me remember this.
Bro just disappeared.
Yeah. And then he came back to the Pizza Plex later and just joined the board of...
Alright, I'm out. Alright, I'm out. See you.
That night, Edwin tinkers with Mimic's mobility in hopes of calming David's restlessness. So this is the night, right? And what happens is 2 hours after this tinkering, David is hit by the white van and killed. For 2 weeks, Edwin is set into a depressive fugue. During this, Mimic attempts to take David's tiger, but Edwin snatches it away. When Edwin comes out of the fugue, Mimic uses the hand movements David taught him to ask for ice cream. Seeing it use David's code overwhelms Edwin with fury and self-recrimination, and he batters the Mimic with a metal rod. So this is 2 weeks after David's death.
Yes.
So this is not very long after David's death. And David is still around 4 years old at this point when he dies. So the implication is that the Mimic has existed for less than a year. So I don't think this could be in the 80s. It would make no sense. Because Fazbear Entertainment went and found the Mimic as soon as David went missing. Like, very shortly after, anyway. They went to go see what they could salvage from his warehouse, and they found the Mimic.
How does that mean it's in the 80s or not in the 80s?
Because hold on, I'm just looking through this because I gotta remember. So they get there, the mimic comes to life and kills them all, right?
Yes.
A team of construction workers were given the task of clearing the old Freddy Fazbear's Pizza place of damaged endoskeletons. Fazbear Entertainment had sent several state-of-the-art animatronics to the construction site, including one that was strangely out of place, the mimic. I don't think that much time could have passed, because it's worded as strangely out of place, which implies that Fazbear Entertainment hasn't done anything to make it fit in terms of a design standpoint.
Well,
they
no,
haven't messed with it in any way.
The thing is that they created their own line of mimic endoskeletons.
Yes, they did, but this one is specifically slotted to be described as out of place, meaning that they did not change it to look like the other ones they made in any way. They simply based the newer ones off of it. So I don't think it had been that long, because if it had been 50 years or so, I think they would have, within reason, changed it to look more like the others, no? They would have wanted that uniqueness.
I don't think they would have changed it because it tried killing a bunch of people. So.
Right, but then why would they throw it in?
Yeah,
but then at the same
put out a
time,
murder machine on
It's-
stage.
no,
I think it's implied.
Yep.
I think it's implied that some weird force or whatever, like, sent the original mimic to that location. I think it's implied.
The implication is that it was sent
Yes.
there either by accident or by some sort of code
Yes,
or force
something
or
like
spiritual
that.
energy. Okay, so I could see that, but why would it take that long? I don't think the mimic would lie in dormants for 50 years after being found by Fazbear Entertainment.
Well, I assume they
just
just
don't-
put them away in a
I mean,
warehouse.
didn't Springtrap
Right.
freaking lay there for 30? So is it
Yeah.
that
Well,
big of a stretch to
also,
think
there's a
that one
difference
would-
between an animatronic that's strong enough to rip off a human being's arms and old Peepaw Afton and his rotting corpse punching through a stone wall.
Well, I mean, no, they
That's
they
fair.
turned the mimic off.
Right.
Peepaw.
I mean, yeah, but I also refuse to believe that Gregory and Vanessa didn't. I feel like if they trapped it down there, but under you gotta understand, they didn't just trap it down there. They didn't lock a door and throw away the key. They put up a concrete wall.
I don't
We
think they
didn't
put
know
up the
how to-
concrete wall, though. I think the concrete wall was there. They used the vent that was right next to it to draw the mimic into that room, and then they collapsed the vent. And then they put up a door over the concrete just as a safety measure.
I
Because there was a
mean,
bunch
maybe-
of concrete around that location anyways.
I suppose, but I don't know much about the books. Has the mimic ever fit into vents in the past?
Yes.
In the book? Okay, so it can
Yes.
fit into vents. We know
But
that
they
much.
collapsed the vent. So it
Okay,
was stuck
and I'm
in there.
assuming this is described in the books to some extent.
Yes, he
okay.
crawls through a vent, yes.
Yeah, the second epilogue introduces 8 teenagers who find a sealed up pizza place and sneak inside through a vent. The vent collapses behind them and traps them inside the pizza place with the mimic. Okay, so that's what you're referring to. It
Yes.
wasn't Gregory and Vanessa that put it there. It was kind of trapped for long enough that when they found it, they just put those extra layers of security there.
Wait.
Okay. Hold on. The teams find old manuals detailing the mimic. When the team created the mimic line, they didn't want to have to program in every show routine step by step. That was a lot of coding. So they programmed the mimic to basically watch and learn. Not only could a mimic fit into any costume, it was designed to observe the other routines and then mimic them. It seems like the original mimic began not just mimicking other animatronics, but also people. And it did it in ways that it wasn't intended. I'm not sure what it did. I can just make out the words misconstrue, scared, potential disaster, and deactivate remaining mimic endos. So this is one of the teens talking about what they saw
Yes.
in the books. I still don't think, like, is it described that they were turned off? Like, it says,
They
a
were
week before Christmas, about a month later, a second team is sent. The mimic hides in various costumes and ambushes the men, giving them a gory death as it kills them with its superhuman strength. And then it just cuts immediately to the Tales from the Pizzaplex epilogues.
Well, it's kind of just
um,
implied that it has that one of their teams eventually
Yes, got it.
Because
But I think if it was turned off, Scott would have directly stated it.
well, it's turned off whenever it arrives at the location, at the pizza place, and
Hold
then the
on,
guy
I'm
turns
gonna-
it back on. Because it doesn't
gonna-
just start like attacking people right like then. The guy has to turn it on and then code a little bit.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it does. He does have to turn it on when it reaches
Yes.
the pizza.
So
or
at some
the
point
pizza
they
location.
captured the
Okay.
mimic and then turned them off, and then used this code for used mimic 1 for all the other mimic endoskeletons, and then yeah.
I'm trying to find. I'm not seeing any. There doesn't seem to be a confirmed point about when the mimic takes place. Not a confirmed one. Hold on. I found this thing. It says
One
It says-
thing
it says-
yeah.
this one says that 1984 is a reasonable date.
There's one thing in the book that says he was working on like a metal chick head, so it's like Toy Chica or something. I don't know, cause none of the like Withered Chica and Chica aren't metal. They don't have metal like suits, so
Well,
the only
neither do
metal
the
one
toys.
could be. Well, no, Toy Chica it's plastic.
The toys
probably.
have more of a polymer plastic.
Yeah.
As
But,
is described.
I
I
don't
still
know.
think you're on base. Okay, I concede. I think it may be
Yeah.
very possible that
Yeah. But it also says that animatronic is his 18th animatronic that he was commissioned for. So
right, which
that
implies
would
that
place
Freddy's
it.
has been along for a decent amount of time.
Well,
now.
the thing is that by the point of if he made the original Freddy Fazbear's animatronics, then it would be around the 18th animatronic whenever he's in FNAF 2, making the
Okay.
FNAF 2 animatronics, like the toys.
Can we really say that? I mean, are we counting sister location in this?
I mean,
'Cause those
he didn't
weren't
work
designed
on.
by him. Those were designed by
No.
William.
Yes.
I don't think he worked on.
No,
Right,
he definitely
so
didn't,
we can
because
count
they were
the
more of a
original
secret
Freddy.
than anything.
We can count for. So all we can really account for are, if anything, the original Freddy and Friends, and then
Yeah.
maybe Fredbear and Springbonnet.
Probably not, because he is hired by Fazbear Entertainment specifically. That
Right,
company
so
cannot
that's only-
exist if
That's
Freddy
only
doesn't.
4 animatronics.
Yeah. But then in
So-
FNAF 2, it's like 10, 20? 10?
10 if you're counting the Wizards, which were already designed
Yeah.
by that.
So,
So I think
Yeah.
I do think it could be possible that the other suits we see the Mimic use are things they've commissioned him to do, and they just didn't
might
make the
be,
final
yeah.
cut. They just didn't make the
'Cause
final
I
cut.
don't know
Okay,
why
can
he
see
would
that
have
maybe the Mimic was made in the 80s.
because I
right?
don't know why he would have those other suits if he wasn't converting them into animatronics.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the events of Ruin happen, and presumably now, regardless of which ending you get, the point is still the same. The Mimic is now free to some extent.
Yes.
It may not be able to get out as easily if you use the elevator ending of Ruin, but it's gonna find a way out. We know it. will.
Right.
It feels like the Mimic is going to be the overarching antagonist in this next arc. I think the
Yeah.
Afton saga has come to end. Well, I think the glitch trap virus will I think the glitch trap virus did its thing. I think the point of glitch trap and burn trap was a passing of the torch.
I think, so can we go into the next topic? Because I want to talk about this, and it actually relates to glitch trap and stuff.
So yes, another topic.
I just a heads up, like make a note of this time as well, Kauflee, but I'm gonna leave unless you want to continue after I leave.
How long
But
do you
I was thinking maybe just about 20 minutes. But I was
Okay,
thinking maybe we could go into the question, what are you excited for in the movie?
Yeah, we can
unless
do that,
you-
and
Oh,
We
yeah,
can
that's
look
fine.
at
Unless
it
you
and
want to
we can take an
continue.
intermission.
We
Pause
can
the
continue
Can't you-
after.
can't you pause the recording in OBS?
Oh, what do
yeah,
you mean?
yeah.
For what, though?
Like I believe when you're recording.
Yeah, like so
OBS,
it'd be like
pause.
a 2-hour, 3-hour intermission. Is that okay? If you really want to do that?
Honestly, I will
yeah, I
be
can do that.
around. I will be around. I do
If
not
I want to do
plan
that,
on-
yeah.
I have so much work to
Alright.
do. I don't plan on going to sleep tonight. So
Yeah, because
Awesome. Yep.
I'd like to cover, like, most of the topics we did, which
Nice,
won't
nice.
take that
All right.
much, so, yeah, that works.
So in that case, have you finished the mimic topic? Like, did you want to round it off, and then we can
Yeah,
start an
so
intermission
I
there?
think
Yeah.
we can cut in here. So I think the Mimic, I think the big takeaway here is regardless of when it was made, regardless of what all that, the Mimic is the direction. I think Matt Pat was pretty on base when he said that the big theme that FNAF is going for now is less spiritual and more technological now.
Yes.
And I think it is. I do honestly would believe if Steel Wool or Scott came out and said it's a commentary on AI. I would believe that.
Yeah.
because that is what the mimic is. It's an AI that learns and grows and copies. It's literally just the definition of Blood thinks he's William Afton. Like, you will never be him.
Yeah.
But insert like the Harry Potter, the how dare you stand where he stood.
How dare you?
But yeah, I think that's the general consensus. Is this next arc is the Mimic Saga.
Yeah, I do think there is some influence of spiritual activity.
I do still think that. I do still think like the Nightmare and plushies that are brought up a lot. Like I do think I do think if any souls are still around, it's Michael's and possibly Charlie's to some extent.
Oh, that's a tough.
Well, that would be the only explanation. I don't think Elizabeth would use Nightmare on plushies.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I don't know where Charlie would fit in though, because
I think it would just be less of like I don't think she'd be like around and active. Maybe like I don't know.
Quick question.
it's a lot. Yeah.
How did Mimic even contact Cassie if like the...
We don't we don't talk
Yeah.
about that.
We don't
No,
about
it's actually shown. We
Is
know
it?
how. During the cutscene
is?
where Cassie finds the mimic, we see it throw the other walkie-talkie.
No.
around.
She gets the walkie-talkie when she's there. How did it contact her outside of the Pizzaplex? We don't
That
talk
is-
about that.
I mean, it's got the whole location. It's got the whole location, and it knows a lot about maintenance. It's far-fetched, but it wouldn't be hard to believe that it could have tinkered with.
To be
something
fair,
built for connection.
if the Mimic 1 code is like still out there somewhere, it could theoretically be in the
The
internet
Mimic 1
somehow.
code is still seemingly everywhere to some
Yeah.
extent. There were multiple
So-
animatronics that were made using it. I would not be surprised if we get some like Avengers Age of Ultron type B, where even if we destroy the Mimic that we see in Ruin, there's still dozens of others that have the code to it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe one of the games could be you going around the country as like an older, maybe Vanessa will get a game of her going around the country
Maybe.
finding the different mimic leads.
Please.
That'd be cool. I would love a
That'd be
FNAF game that goes to like tons of different settings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Imagine like a mimic hunt in the forest or
Oh,
like
that'd
in
be
an
cool.
abandoned hospital or something like that.
That'd be
She
really cool.
absolutely had no screen time. Please give her more screen time.
Oh my god, I would love a
beg.
Vanessa
yes.
centric game.
I need more. Because they just completely scrapped Vanny for Ruin, so kind of need
Yeah.
more. But
It's like that one Toy Story meme where he holds the toy and he's like, I don't want to play with you anymore. Just like,
Yeah.
drops Vanessa.
Yeah.
It's like,
Steel
ooh, Mimic.
basically
Oh,
did that.
hell yeah.
yeah, but if that's where we want to leave it. And we're back with significantly less people.
Literally everybody except Sekkret.
Yeah.
We're missing one.
A significant amount of
Yeah,
people.
it is
Wow.
significant.
They probably
It
got
is
lost in the
significant.
void.
That just
Sekkret
means
You had
was
to
the
tap
heart.
in, tap out. You know,
Sekkret
you
was the
know,
heart of the stream. That's why
Sekkret
it
Yeah,
was
you're
so
right.
good.
Yes.
Sekkret was
Absolutely.
approximately 50% of this stream, despite
Yes.
the
Forever remember.
Pretty much.
Not our fault he got lost in the void.
No, listen.
That's-
No, I
Oh.
think it is.
That sounded a little too suspicious. I think it's your fault.
Listen, this is
It
gonna
was
be
not
quote.
my fault.
It's quote time.
It was
gamers.
Chris's fault.
Sekkret
Yeah,
was
it wasn't your
50%.
fault, sassy.exe.
Listen, guys.
What
Come
do you
on
mean it's
Oh,
my
man.
fault? It's in my name.
We can point blame at each other all we want. The point is, Sekkret was 50% of this stream, which is ironic considering I talked for 90% of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
All right, guys.
So- Everyone, I have a really important question.
Yes.
What
Ask away.
are in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe MXs and the entity?
Okay, I can talk about this for hours.
I
It's
don't
William Afton.
different things. I'm stupid.
It's glitch trap.
Yeah.
You said William Afton, and I'm already imagining you on a Matt Pet thumbnail.
I thought Glitch Trap was like
Hey, man.
a mimic thing. What are you on
No,
about?
it's not.
No.
Definitely
No,
not.
The
it's
debate
not.
starts.
Look at it this way. Look at it this way. Look at it this way. The mimic, or not all burn traps are mimics, but all mimics are burn traps.
Real.
I'd say I thought it was a
Spoken.
thing where it's like that's where we encounter Mimic 1 as opposed to the
Not
Mimic.
quite. Because
No.
Mimic 1
Get
has
off the stage.
no like
Physical.
interaction
is-
with Afton.
if I hear Matthew Patrick's name come out here, I'm gonna have some words to say.
I am Matt Pat.
Max is
I am
Welcome
Pat.
to Game Theory. We're on
gonna
tonight's
cry.
episode. We're fucking beating the shit out of Kauflee.
Oh, damn it.
Jesus.
I think I might have just found my 13th reason, gamers. Anyways, so Gregory states in Ruin that the Mix's security system, or Mex's, or whatever you want to call it, was designed by seemingly him and Vanessa to keep the mimic snug away in the
Trapped, yeah.
lower layers. Yeah, trapped. And that's why the mimic was having Cassie run around undoing the locks that kept it in place.
Yes.
So basically, it's a jail. It is mimic
Yes,
jail.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Mexes.
It's
It is
mimic
gay
Mimic
mimic
jail.
jail.
It's gay mimic jail, exactly.
Game mimic jail.
Oh, okay. Ooh, okay. How about the entity?
The entity is okay. So the entity at every turn in the story is always referred to as an anomalous entity. So it's not a part of the program, not at all. It's even stated to hijack the security program. So
it's not meant to show up in relation to the mimic
No,
stuff. It's just
it's not
just
supposed to be
chilling.
there. Yeah. So and given its whimsical little Afton look, it just seems a lot like, it'd be
So-
William.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be hard to believe that. So the Mex's security system doesn't actually have a physical form in terms
Yes.
of a creature. The Mex's security system is personified by the little locks that you undo.
Yeah.
The entity, however, seems to be a corrupted portion of the security program that manifests itself and goes after Cassie.
That seems a little bit more legit. This isn't a popular one, but I don't like the idea that Afton or anyone in the original villain pack, villain roster is back. I feel like that defeats the point of the big
Well-
closing sequence of FNAF 6, where it's see these guys are gone.
Well, see,
It's more
these
so
guys are
like
fucking dead.
it's more so like the agony of William.
Yeah,
And
So
because
that's fair enough, but
Can
I
I-
think
also I like
separating
to
it is the move.
well I'd like to talk about a scene in The Man in Room 1280 because it
I actually have
like-
that one, so if we're gonna pick stuff up,
Oh,
let me
yeah.
grab it.
yes. So at the end it shows Afton bursting into goo and stuff, and in that room they're in the Fazbear Entertainment Distribution Center, so there's a bunch of just junk everywhere, likely circuit boards that would be scanned in to a help wanted, and so
Right.
yeah, that's
So
just
it's
a
basically
big
that story basically confirms that William is still around in some point.
yeah, but
Now-
So that
just
was
slightly.
Before Help Wanted when they were going through stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the thing is, about that. Ultimately, I get what you mean when people say oh, it ruins the point of a character to just have them come back after their big finish, right? Well, I don't think so. And the way there are a couple examples I like to use for cases such as this. And this is gonna be a big fucking out of nowhere tone shift. But one of the best examples I can use for storytelling that reuses characters is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
That was good.
Well, no,
That was
okay.
good timed.
So JoJo has the benefit of a lot of the protagonists show up in later parts, and the thing is, you gotta ask in a story, is this there's a difference between when you think a character's arc is done and when a character's arc is actually done.
Yeah.
So even with the protagonists, JoJo also does something with the villain of Dio. Dio dies in part 3. But despite that, his influence is felt in every part up until part 6. And even part 7, there's an alternate universe counterpart.
How because you're arguing that it's kind of a remnant thing.
Yes.
Yes.
That is, I don't think that's really influence though.
Well-
With the way Remnant works, that's
It
pretty
is-
much the same
It's not
thing as
Remnant.
him.
Okay, we
It's
should preface,
agony.
It's not Remnant, it's agony, because Remnant is
I
what
thought
it was.
agony was specific type of remnant that's like
Yes,
angry or
Yes.
Yes, but you're saying that, but you used the term for the general as opposed to the specific. So yeah, agony is a type of remnant, but it's a very specific type of remnant that is left through hatred and rage and things like that. And
evil
It's not
remnant.
as actual.
Where's the
It's-
copy pasta about the
It's-
hamburger helper?
oh my god, I don't. Before we fucking send the train to the 7th layer of hell, where old Peepaw Afton is resting, I think it's important to note. I think it's important to note that you don't
Made like a
actually-
dog fucked up version of the remnant, just a glimpse
my
into my
God.
dark reality.
No,
A
no,
full stare into my twisted distress. I'm done. I'll pack it up.
no. So another important thing is I actually would like to say that agony and remnant are a lot more separate than people think.
Yes.
In that
Yeah.
you don't actually have to die to create agony. We know
Agony
that
is just a
Edwin-
emotion
right
possession, not a soul
Yes.
possession. There's a very distinct difference between those
because
two.
Edwin.
All right, hold on. Agony is an animatronic or a piece of software,
It's
or
an
what? What's
energy.
happening?
It's an energy.
It's an energy.
So,
Okay.
Let me explain.
It's-
Let me explain. So
Hold
how
on,
remnant
so-
is remnant is the remnant of a soul, right?
Yeah,
whole
and
soul
agony is a remnant.
behind. Nah, let me explain. So
Yeah.
remnant is what is left. Yeah, I'm sitting here fucking. Actually. So remnant.
Get him
so
off the
remnant.
stage.
Shut up. So remnant is.
Throwing tomatoes.
So
Throwing
when a
tomatoes.
soul dies, when a person dies, their whole soul doesn't possess something, but only a fraction of it, a remnant. Whereas the rest of the soul moves on, but
Oh my god.
because the whole soul has moved on, the spirit can't be at rest.
Yeah, I remember that from part one. Yeah.
Agony is not soul energy; it's emotional energy. We know this because the reason that the mimic is aggressive and evil is because Edwin, when he battered the mimic, placed agony inside of it. Edwin did not die. As far as we know, he effed off somewhere else and is just either living his life or something. He's living his life somewhere, right?
Well, he goes
Well, I
to
don't
the
think
pizza
it's
place,
ever-
but yeah.
Right. Well, I don't think it's ever confirmed that he dies. Yeah.
Well, he does die at the
He,
end of the
like,
story.
disappears,
Okay.
but
No, I do remember
considering the
that. I do remember that. It's
circumstances of
fucking
his
2:30. It's fucking
disappearance, his ass is
2:30 a.m.
yuck.
2:30 a.m. I don't remember. I don't remember shit. I forgore. Anyways, so the point is, Edwin didn't have to die.
I remember.
Agony to the mimic. It was just his negative emotional state. So to say that Afton lived on through agony would probably be the best way to describe Glitchtrap. In his moment of death, he felt hatred and anger so severe that before he died, that agony was passed on to the circuit boards that later became Glitchtrap. It would
Yes.
also explain why Glitchtrap. See, the thing you gotta notice about agony is they actually make it very clear that there's a difference between agony spirits and remnant spirits, and that is their emotional state. Remnant spirits
Okay.
act like the spirit would. So the remnant spirits of the children are still lost, scared children trying to find their murderer. The remnant spirit of Springtrap is still a malicious killer. But any spirit, any ghost or possession done with agony always results in an almost animalistic monster incapable of
You bring up an interesting point, like in that. I mean, you were kind of just mentioning stuff that made me think of like not being an entirely agony creation, but like the whole idea of maybe a portion of agony being part of the possession's re-original animatronics. I was reading like 1280 during this. I'm sorry. it's all over the place.
Like you're saying, you think
To
that there's
make them
some
like
sense of
a little
agony.
bit more like fucky wucky and aggressive
I don't
instead
think
of just like
per se. I think that the animatronics, I think that the spirits in their heads are aggressive towards you because in their heads they've got pretty good justification as to why they're trying to kill you. Because we know
Same
that,
outfit as the murderer, as I said
but
earlier.
not even just the same outfit. You are his son, so naturally you have a lot of similar facial features, things like that.
Yeah,
And
that too.
And on top of that, you got to remember, Phone Guy has said that even a little bit of agony is enough for something to go haywire. And Phone Guy has said that they're fine with children, but with adults, they almost stare them down to try and get a read off of them. It's not.
I mean, that's true because we
it's
know
not-
that
Yeah, because back in
with the
FNAF 2
mimic, like you said, even and to be fair, the mimic's a case of like probably one of the highest concentrations of agony we've seen. But like
I'd like to
teenagers,
argue-
kids, adults,
Yeah.
basically it's co-workers when it was like doing the limb pile stuff. Anyone is fair game.
Mimic's hands are rated E for everyone.
Oof. That's scary.
But on top of that, you have to remember, like, I don't think that, like, what people said, like, oh, the animatronics stare at adults because they hate adults. No. What they do is every time they see something bigger than a kid, the first thing their mind jumps to is that him? Is that the man that
You
killed
think they see? You think they see like a particularly like grown child and they're like, "Yo,
That might just be the
ID,
man.
ID, please."
Yeah, right.
So
They
is
hide
agony
you to find
is
out if they're the
agony
man.
is it like just one instance of this emotional energy, or is it
So-
like
The mimic is one of the only confirmed cases of agony in media,
Okay.
but a lot of the fan base, myself included, believe that the blob is
Actually, Tangle.
Oh god.
Bob
actually
is more
Tangle.
fun to tell you.
the blob, Tangle, fucking Molten Freddy 2.7, whatever you want to call it. Is,
2.7.
Molten Freddy 2.7. That's a funny
Yeah.
name.
But anyway, a lot of people believe that is also an agony-related experiment, as it will attack you instantly upon stepping in its vicinity if you're not in Freddy.
I mean, I
Yes.
thought, and this is a thing I read like once, so I don't know. I thought that was like pretty much it soaked up just anything in the Pizzaplex Remnant agony wise.
Right, I mean, that could be possible, but we also have to
I've
remember
heard that some. I don't know if it's canon.
No, it's not
but-
canon. It's not
yeah.
confirmed. Almost nothing about the blob is completely confirmed. Like, the blob is...
We know
still
so
one of the-
little about it.
I was so
the
worried
blob,
about
I
that.
feel like,
breakdown,
honestly, hot
I was gonna
take...
say the books, and I was about to get
No.
contentious.
No. This is not a
The blob
fizz
bring you a little wreck.
Take a shot every time you say the word book. But anyway,
We can do that.
I'll love to.
I mean-
I'm just fucking around. But like, what I was trying to say is like, this might be a hot take. I feel like the blob is gonna become the same thing as the Bite of 87. It's gonna be like a thing that was kind of there, but you're not really gonna need it to completely solve the story. Like, it'd
Yeah,
be
probably
nice
not.
to have as like that clarification. Like, here's the thing: the blob didn't have any story significance in either Security Breach or Ruin. It was there, and it's a mystery, yes. But just like the Bite of 87, we could do without knowing who did it. You know, like
I'm
there's
gonna
a
be
pretty
real with you. I
obvious
still don't understand why it's like primary head and supposedly its entire body composition is like funtime based when that's all meant to be like dead, gotten rid of.
No, it's not just funtime based.
Yeah.
It's
There's
Chica's
definitely-
head is also in there. The
Yeah.
puppet's head, the puppet's mask is in there.
I know that
Mangle.
stuff. I mean, it was kind of like assumed that they robbed that from the museum. That I understand. But I don't know where it got the funtime stuff because we can assume that there was only one set
Right.
of them.
And not to mention, well, no, we know for a fact that multiple copies of the Fun Times existed because they were rented out for parties.
Oh,
However,
is this the
No, I
just
think it
coming
was
down to,
just
like,
no. It was just the
stuff that
one.
was?
The
was
one.
it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
that's
That's
like
why they
old
had. That's why they
news.
had to have a whole schedule, isn't it?
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah, because you.
But I
only
mean,
have
you
one
could
book.
also count AR if you wanted to.
True.
That's what I
AR
like. I think
yeah.
that's a real thing you can do in the universe, but I
Yeah.
don't think you have to like fight them. You just hang out
Well,
with like
having-
Freddy
Well, yeah.
go down.
Yeah. Most of them don't tend to be corrupt. Here's the thing. Here's why I would argue there's
I would be
definitely
so
more
broke
than
if that
one
was a
set.
real thing. By the way, if
Here-
you could
here-
do that in real life.
Yeah. Here's
I'd love
the
that.
argument I have for why there's multiple sets of the Fun Times. It's not even just because of AR. It's because of the quality of the masks on the blob's body. Scrap Baby was literally put together by scraps and trash. Molten Freddy's
Ooh.
face was completely fragmented and destroyed. If that was Molten Freddy and Scrap Baby, their faces would not look like they were in such pristine condition.
Yeah.
I would also
I mean,
like
yeah,
to argue
that's,
that I
that's
feel
where
like
I thought. You go.
I feel like a good explanation for the blob and all the mass on that, because I don't see a lot of people talking about it, is that there's hints in the game that the blob has been moving around in the vents or something,
Yes.
and is stealing memorabilia from that showcase in the not the atrium, in Rockstar Row, because different things are missing.
That's what I was saying, where that makes sense for like the older pieces that we already see have like exhibits there. I gotta be honest, with like, I don't know about the Cirque Xavier mask, that's still up in the air for me, but with the Funtime Freddy mask, I gotta be honest, I don't think that's that deep. I kind of just thought that like Steel Wool had the model and they were like, yeah, throw it in there, you know?
Nah, they also, they probably would have also had the models for Scrap Baby and Molten Freddy, simply because Scott did give them his models, at least
they
to
had
work
to.
off of
They had to
they
like
had to remodel.
They had to
and
work
stuff.
off of them.
Right,
But they
but
definitely
they had the original models as a base, which is why a lot of the animatronics still have typical FNAF body structure. So by that logic, I don't think they would have remade every animatronic they did for VR and specifically decided to not remake Molten Freddy and Scrap Baby's masks for the Blob. Like, that's the thing, is like the problem. Okay, I think this is the biggest problem with the fact that Steel Wool runs FNAF now. Like, back when Scott was at the helm, we could confidently say Scott doesn't do coincidences, right? He tends not to. If there's a thing that is like specifically like an odd detail, there's a reason for it. The problem now with Steel Wool at the helm is a lot of people see that it's a company and they instantly go, oh, any inconsistency, oh, it's just laziness. They're just lazy.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was. I didn't take it as lazy.
I'm
I
not
just
saying
thought
you
like,
are.
you know,
I
that's.
I see
But
that.
no, I get your point.
Yeah,
I
I see
also
that's.
think. You finish. You finish.
No, I talk too much. Go ahead.
I also
Yeah, he's
think
talking
it's
too
just like
You don't talk enough, Sassy.
people. Yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
you.
Come on, speak it. No, I think people are also too used to Scott not being as straightforward. So he'll be like this tiny little like off-color pixel that'll be huge in like 4 years' time.
Right.
Where
Fuck
yeah.
Steel Wool's narrative direction.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
Yeah.
kind of like the gas tanks in the private room area of Sister Location.
Yeah,
Like no one knew
whereas-
the.
It
No
was
one
so
knew those
obvious.
fucking-
Steel Wool's
actually-
narrative direction is much more straightforward.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And I think people are having trouble adjusting to that, and that's where you get the situation like Matt has, especially someone
Oh
who
my
has
god.
spent
Yeah.
years, built such a career off of picking apart every single little thing. When it's right in front of you, you're just kind of like, no, it
that's
can't be
why I
that
think-
easy.
That's the problem too, is like the big divide with the theorist community Matt has talked about, is like, I think the divide is so silly because a lot of people hate on MatPat, but that's the thing, he's doing what he always does, he just digs deep into it. The problem is now, because it's so much more simple, he's digging too deep, and then you have,
That's what I
and then you
think.
have-
I
yeah.
genuinely
you have
think
theorists.
it's just not that deep, and
Yeah,
people
and
need
then-
to chill.
To be fair,
Yeah,
there
no.
is definitely a deeper, like, there are deeper
Where?
stories there, but like,
Right, I mean, like
it's
the
not
whole
as
sister
deep.
location room with the cipher on the wall, things
Yeah.
like that. Like there's those elements, but no, what I'm trying to say is like, then you have creators like new theorists in the scene, like ID's Fantasy, John FNAF, you know, Riot Toast,
Yeah.
people like them, who they take the simple story as what it is, a simple story. They look at it at face value, but the problem with that is now you have people who are MatPat fans who like to look too deep into things, who like to like dig every little detail apart, and now they're hating on FNAF and Riot Toast and all these people being like, oh, you're not looking
I've
hard
heard
enough.
John
Not doing-
FNAF gets a little bit like a little bit wild. Not as bad as Matt Pat,
Well,
but a
yeah.
little bit out there.
Yeah, but at the same time, the hate he gets is almost worse.
Yeah.
And I think it's because MatPat, whether people like to admit it or not, is a more respected figure in this fandom.
Yeah.
It's just Matt Pat made himself sound very legit. And I'm not gonna say like I'm not gonna discredit him putting in the real world luck stuff. That work is very admirable, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
but
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, his
But
first
I think
FNAF
he
theory
kind of
was-
built up that reputation using like the science, the logistics, and so people automatically go like, "No, this man's got the facts. This man sees the color green and seizes up." For legal reasons,
The
nothing against
fancy
Matt Pat.
color- then sees the color purple, and he instantly just goes, "Oh, serial killer."
The people on FNAF Twitter are gonna get me if I don't tell them like, hey, there's nothing wrong with Matt.
Listen, right? Okay, here's the thing about that. I'm gonna make it very clear.
Markiplier sees the color purple.
Ironic. It's ironic because Matt Pat's video did basically just call everybody out. He was like, y'all are sitting here saying like, oh, Matt Pat's only picking the information he needs to like prove his point and blah 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 blah. But literally the whole discourse around the Gregbot theory was because of one screenshot that was posted out of context.
Yeah.
And led people to believe that he was trying to say that Gregory is the crying child when that wasn't the theory.
Yeah, there was a lot of evidence behind it, but
I didn't
people
know
just
people
cherry
were
picked that one little
unironically
thing.
saying that. I thought that was like, haha, look at this, it's a bit silly, out of context, emphasis on out of context.
And Matt Pat has emphasized multiple times in his recent FNAF theories that even he doesn't want some of these theories to be true.
Yeah.
It just looks like that's the direction the franchise is going. And so, like, hell, with the theory they made recently, I don't know if any of you have seen it. I mean, I'm sure some of you have, but Prod, I don't know if you have been keeping up. One of his latest theories is that Cassie's dad is the Bonnie bro from FNAF 4.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I
Yeah, it's an
think
interesting
that would be like a neat connection, but I don't think it needs to have like the lore implications that it does.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think
I feel like
it
it's
has lore
too.
implications.
I don't know.
No, I think it'd be cool, and here's why I think it'd be
Yeah.
cool. One of the biggest lessons I've learned when learning how to write stories is everything has to feel connected. Look at shows like Arcane, where a detail brought up in like episode 1 or 2 becomes relevant in like the last episode, right? And things like that. That's good storytelling, is when you could see something.
And that is a very common thing in FNAF so far, might I add.
Right, is when you can
everything ties up in the end.
One of my favorite aspects of storytelling is when the writer knows how to introduce something and then be like, hey, this doesn't have a purpose yet, but it will later. And I think that's cool. I would love it if over time we got introduced to Michael's other friends, the other bullies, and we see how Freddy's has affected their lives.
And it's such an easy thing to do, and an easy way to expand your story in a really satisfying way.
There's literally a book franchise going out right now with 3 stories per book. Literally just make the Bonnie or the Freddy and Chica bullies the main characters of 2 of the stories.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Speaking of books, how do you see them?
The
books, okay, so for me, the books have always been non-canon, but people have found their way to bring it in, and I think the reasoning... So I think someone told me, I think it might have been you, Tavis, someone told me that the books are like a retelling of a way of saying things about the FNAF universe that couldn't be expressed in the games. What do you all think about that?
On that, I think a good way to explain it is Scott has basically made posts before saying that they are supposed to be parallels and like...
He hasn't really said parallels though.
There's a specific post that I'm remembering.
Parallels mentioned? Absolutely not. Can I just say?
Yeah.
I don't recall him saying there were parallels. I think it was due to the whole Charlie being the puppet spirit thing that he said there would be parallels, but they're not connected.
Well,
I am a Tales Games truther. I am down in the speakers on the Twitter.
A couple things. First thing, Kauflee, can we get a foghorn count every time that happens from now on?
Yes, absolutely.
Secondly,
I heard these stay like in the recording. By the way, I really
they're gonna. The thing is about the books is the way I've usually used the books is Scott has said that the specifically the Fazbear Frights and the Tales books have tidbits in them. But the thing is with the Fazbear Frights books, I don't usually take tidbits from that as often because the Tales books directly advertise themselves as in the same universe as Security Breach.
And they fill in a lot of the important gaps between.
Not anymore. They've taken that out of the book descriptions.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
They only did it because for marketing reasons. I believe.
Oh, okay. That
All
would
I'm
make sense.
saying
But,
is that it's the tale from the Pizzaplex guys, where
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah,
none
but
of
it's
the
not
stories
tales from the
contradict.
Parallelplex.
And none of the stories
Yeah.
contradict anything in the games.
Right.
Fazbear Frights might, but like Scott has also said that like some of the stories from Fazbear Frights are canon or
Yes.
can
Yeah.
directly
Or have
connect.
What I was trying to say earlier, because I kind of slipped over my words, was more so like specifically Scott has said in the past that like it's been that these books are not parallel wasn't the right word, but like puzzle pieces.
Yes.
Yes.
They are the missing puzzle pieces.
Explanations
Yes.
of how different things work.
Clarification.
And I'd say probably the biggest example of that is Didophobia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything involving the Mimic, anything involving like FNAF 4.
The
FNAF 4 was literally explained in a Tales story. It was
Yeah.
revealed to be like, and the best part too is how well that's written.
Whoa, hold on. It was revealed to be what?
Oh, okay. I thought I said
You just said it was revealed to be
Okay,
like, I'm
no,
here.
No.
Yeah,
I
Fran has
Hold on. I think I can explain.
I was trying to say that, yeah. So I actually thought I had moved on because I remember saying something about it in part 1 of the recording. Basically, the story confirmed that FNAF 4 was one of many tests William had done on various children and people with a gas, a hallucinogenic gas that would turn these like mannequins into the nightmare animatronics. So that would explain it. So it's presumed that at some point Michael took part in these tests and was victim to these tests, or maybe the crying
Because-
child. But presumably Michael, because Michael has like the mouth on Fredbear's stomach, is meant to symbolize Michael's trauma from watching.
It's also
Fredbear kill
because
his brother.
like in the security logbook, he draws Nightmare Fredbear.
Yeah.
I
We know
have
he
that
had
one
seen
too.
that
Yeah.
Let me get that from the shop.
And so
Yeah, I have the security logbook as well. And you know what's funny about that, Prod?
Yep.
Daco made the fucking prediction right back during Sister Location, and
Yeah.
everyone fucking glossed it over.
he switched over.
It
So
was
the
so
reason
funny.
the reason he made that prediction is because in Sister Location. Well, let me swallow this piece of my sandwich real quick.
Oh man.
It's a good ass
Damn
sandwich. In Sister Location,
Peanut
in,
butter
It's
and
a
it's
good
a lot.
time. This location.
in both the Ennard fight and the custom night, in one of the cameras, I think it's the camera where the generator is. Up against
No,
the
it's not the
generator.
camera with the generator. It's the top
It's top
right
left.
corner camera.
Is it
Whatever.
top
One
right?
of,
I thought it was
one
top
of
Well,
the,
there's
one of the cor-
multiple.
one of the corners,
There's
one of the
multiple
corners.
rooms. There's multiple
And
rooms.
in them, you can see canisters of gas. And when Daco flipped onto one of the cameras in Sister Location, he was like, "Those look like gas canisters. I wonder if they're being funneled up to the FNAF 4 house." And then nobody batted an eye. This is what I
Yeah.
mean. This is what I mean. I love Matt Pat. Great guy. I think he's a genuinely good guy. I
Yeah.
think he's
Definitely.
But there are so many YouTubers like Markiplier, Daco, people like these that see it and on the money, first guess, done,
Yeah.
right? And Matt Pat's out here explaining dream theory, right? Like,
Yeah.
Matt Pat's
I
out here
feel
explaining
you.
Dream Theory. Daco, those look like gas canisters. I wonder if they're getting funneled up to the FNAF 4 house.
Well, I mean, at the time, I think
Gets
Dream
glances
Theory
over and
was
then it
a
comes back
plausible
later on.
idea. But
so
like,
here's the
I-
thing.
I-
Chris out here with another hot take. Scott has said like time and time again that he's only ever retconned one thing in FNAF. I think he's a fucking liar.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Dang.
Sorry,
I-
Scott. Like,
I
you
think-
record the hell out of that thing.
Like you
I
can't
was
tell
gonna
me
say
that
I
because
think
he's. Yep.
you finish off what you're saying, like mid sentence.
Yeah, so like to me it's like you can't say that he's retconned only one thing because he also said that no one knows what it is yet. That's fucking bullshit because you were setting up Dream Theory from the jump, man. I don't care. Like that was where you were going with that. You cannot tell me that wasn't a retcon. Like as
I
soon
will
as
say
you
we also like don't know the extent of like what Scott means, because he could mean traditional retcon, like you like big massive thing that you rearrange, it changes everything. That fully understandable. I would believe there's been one of those, but I would also believe there's been many changing of like hold on, give me a second to like put this
I
eloquently.
get what you mean, tiny little
There are
things.
many
here and there.
things that where like the meaning of a small thing has been changed to
Yeah.
better align the larger main retcon.
Well, see,
There's
off rip,
technical retcons, but I don't think they count as like the traditional kind where it's like one big thing gets changed. You know what I
Do you
mean?
think
Let me-
do you think the books have resulted in a retcon in the games?
okay, here and there, yeah, I would agree. So
To a point, yes.
for a retcon, for those who are listening and might not completely understand what a retcon is, a retcon is the concept of introducing something to a story that directly contradicts prior information that has been shown, but serves not to contradict it, but to overwrite that meaning. So, again, weaving out here, the biggest example is in Dragon Ball Super, retcons Goku's entire backstory.
Who's got the
Original.
foghorn?
Nope, don't do it. Don't foghorn me.
I'm sorry, I have to give the people what they want. Hold on.
So,
Don't put that one on the counter. I was requested.
you know what, right there. Going on the Kauflee, add 2 to the counter. Anyways,
Oh.
I gotta go back through this and edit it and listen for the foghorns.
I'm so sorry. At least
Good
in all
luck.
fairness,
Feel free
in
to
all
add
fairness-
me doing the foghorn myself.
in all
Yeah.
fairness, you're gonna
Yeah.
notice it. It's a pretty prominent sound.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Dragon Ball Super retcons like the main character's entire backstory. In the original story, it's he was sent to Earth to conquer it, to destroy it. But in Super, it's like, no, he was sent to Earth by his dad because he knew the planet was going to get destroyed and he wanted to save his son. So he went from like mildly interesting to Superman. So that's a retcon. So I personally believe that Dream Theory was a retcon. Scott was actually going ahead with Dream Theory, and then he realized he wanted to make sister location, and he was like, okay, can't do that now. Another thing that I agree with Matt Pet on this, that the puppet's gender was a retcon. That the spirit in the puppet was originally supposed to be a male. And that's because it is never outright stated to be female until the 6th game.
I'm
Where
gonna be real.
in the mini
what
game where we see the first murder, the voice in the background, where you know how the save them mini game, it says save them. Well, in the cake mini game, it says save him. So I think the puppet was intended to be a male from the start, the spirit, but later down the line, Scott wanted the crying child to be the main character of FNAF 4. So he was like, okay, well, how do I fix this? Well, the puppet's Henry's daughter now.
I also think that like ties up like almost like the curse that I would call it, of just how it like absolutely ruins the people in charge.
Yep. And so,
And like I think it ties it up really nicely that like, hey, Henry didn't get out of this scot-free either.
Right.
Scott.
Yeah.
Henry didn't get out of this completely. Oh my God, Henry didn't get out of this completely like unscathed. And I actually do believe, I'm a firm believer that that William killed Charlie out of jealousy. I'm the type. I believe that theory.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I've been making the joke since before we knew about like Remnant and stuff, and that he just like he just started yanking kids with the fucking fun times, because why not?
Right.
He's I always thought he was a little bit I made this joke like years ago. If I can't have kids, then nobody can have kids.
Right.
Oh,
So, well, we
That's
know
rough.
Charlie. We know Charlie was
Yeah.
his first kill, and we know that it was presumably before Elizabeth's death, before or shortly after. But we know that it was definitely after the crying child's death, because Freddy exists, right? And Freddy was just becoming a thing when the crying child died.
So Charlie's death is one of the deaths that's detailed in the books.
Right.
Because I don't remember hearing about Charlie at all in any of the games,
Charlie
except
isn't
yeah.
Charlie was never
explicitly-
detailed in the books, but it was confirmed in the ending cutscene of FNAF 6 that she was the kid outside in the Give Cake minigame, or the Take Cake to the Kids minigame in FNAF 2. It was confirmed in FNAF 6 because we see it from the puppet's perspective.
And then we
see it
hear
call out.
her be mentioned in Henry's monologue.
Yes, he says, on that day you were shut out. On that day no one was there to lift you into their arms as you had lifted them into yours. Which does also set up the concept of the puppet being this mother figure to the other souls. This maternal kind of love figure who lifts others into her arms.
And I think it's this juxtaposition of like, I don't think that's the right word, but where like the Afton kids kind of either got like kind of villainous from being vengeful or kind of just ended up that way from the jump, where Elizabeth kind of took over
like
baby's role anyway.
Right, yep.
Where Henry was the one who wasn't up to anything malicious, and Charlie ended up the same way.
Right.
If that makes sense. I feel like
the
I'm
two daughters
like
ended
reaching
up being. No, I get it. It's a juxtaposition, and it's also a parallel between their parents. The two daughters ended up becoming similar to their fathers.
Yes.
And so I think overall, these retcons, like, here's the thing. I don't think they're bad retcons by any means. I would have hated it if Dream Theory turned out to be true. If that was that. I would have hated it if. Well, okay, I wouldn't say I would have hated it if the puppet was a guy, because that's like such a superficial thing to get mad about. But like, I do believe that going with it being Charlie was the best possible route. One of my favorite current fan games, The Return to Bloody Nights, actually shows William's descent into madness really well. That it was his fault. He didn't look at the animatronics for safety measures, and it resulted in the death of his child. And in the very last phone call with Henry, it's Henry trying to comfort him after the death of the crying child, and he keeps telling him, like, whatever you want me to do, William, I can help you. Just please, like, tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it for you. And he says, I don't need your help, Henry, but there is something I can do. You've had it so well. You have a successful restaurant, a woman that loves you, a child who's still with you. And the last line he says is something to the extent of, like, you don't get to tell me you're sorry until you feel even a fraction of what I feel.
That was really good delivery. I just want to say.
I'm tired. That really helps with my ominous delivery. Is like, I'm tired. But, like,
Is there more than one crying child?
Yeah, that was ominous. What the hell?
Yes.
So the crying children.
Because like,
the crying children in
this
the
is
first game were always.
I'll just describe like what my point of view. So there's a crying child who dies outside the building FNAF 2. That's Charlie. Okay, and then there's a crying child who gets run over by a car, right?
No.
There's Susie, who is Chica's spirit, whose dog got run over by a car. And William lured her, promising that her dog was still alive.
So what? Okay, so you're gonna have to jog my memory because it's been a while. I think it's in FNAF 6. There is that the one with the minigames?
Yes, the Fruity Maze minigame.
Okay,
Yeah, that is...
I'm pretty sure it's that one where there's a scene where I'm guessing it's a girl. She walks outside and dies by a pile of trash, and then Marionette runs after her.
That's Charlie.
That's
not
Charlie
too.
That is, so I'm assuming after the retcon happened, because Scott originally intended the crying child, like the FNAF 4 crying child, was originally the kid who got killed outside the diner in FNAF 2. But then he was making FNAF 4, and he wanted the crying child, the one we know, the one the fandom calls Evan, to be the protagonist. So he was like, okay, well, how do I fix this? So I think the cutscene in FNAF 6 with the security puppet was meant to be his reimagining of the scene to, like, finally, like, set in stone, this is how it is now. It's Charlie.
Okay.
Right.
So how did she actually die?
She was killed by William. Same story. She
was killed by William. So she was like strangled or shot with a gun or something.
Whatever, yeah, and dumped in the alleyway.
Okay.
And the puppet went out to find her because that was its mechanic. It was to protect kids. And it broke down next to her because of the rain, and then she possessed it. Now, of course, obviously, crying children have been like symbolism for ghosts in the franchise like the whole time. So obviously, like in FNAF 3, the ones that surround William, they're just the different souls, right? Susie, Gabriel, Fritz, Jeremy, whatever. Which I also find it hilarious that all three of the guys, like, you have Fritz, okay, Jeremy, okay, who the fuck is Gabriel? Like, that's a name I have.
Gabriel Ultra Kill.
Did anyone ever figure out what the grave was in the background?
That is presumed to be Charlie's. The one
or Cassidy's.
No, the one obscured by the grass is assumed to be Cassidy's.
Probably.
It makes sense for the one in the background to be Charlie's because it was separate from the MCI, and also it's overlooking the other 5. Sorry, I just burped in the middle of that sentence. I'm so sorry.
I didn't even think about the symbolism.
You're all good.
Yeah. So.
I don't think we've established.
Yeah.
So ultimately,
yeah.
what we're trying to say, I think, is like with the books, back on topic, is the books can, I think, I'd have to reread some of them, but I'm pretty sure there are a couple things that they retcon, but it's nothing huge. The only huge details we get from the books, rather than retcons, are clarifications. That's kind of a lie. I do think that the FNAF 4 explanation does kind of count as a retcon, because
The FNAF 4 explanation, I think, is a pretty big retcon. Freaking
Right.
gas, like
though,
going
how
through
do
the FNAF.
But the question is, would you count that as a retcon? Like, I feel like Scott's been setting it up the whole
Are the
time.
books
He
even?
set it
They're
up
not
from, like,
written by
sister
Scott,
location.
right?
It's
They're
been
all
set
written
up,
by-
but I feel like not very well considering the direction it was meant to be. But now that we have all the pieces and he's had to tell us, it makes sense.
I don't argue that it's been hard to figure out. I think the problem is back then, MatPat was the only guy people turned to figure out the game. So his focus was not on that. So I think that issue is, the MatPat was the only guy. As for, are the books written by Scott? Yes, all of them are written by Scott.
Well, they're not
Really?
written by him. They're
edited
written
and
by
like
other
over
people,
through.
and
I
he
mean,
just
they
gives
They
still
get
them
their
need
ideas.
it,
Yes.
obviously.
Right,
So
okay.
he needs to be like,
He has
yeah,
to look over them all.
Right, so as far as
Okay.
he's concerned, he has approved all of them and the details
Yes.
that are proven for the
But
canon
also,
are
there's a story that gives clarification a little bit on Mike and when he works at FNAF 1, the FNAF 1 location, and it's You're the Band, and he shows up for like a couple pages, and because like actually it gives clarification on Midnight Motorist as well, because there's that scene where the guy walks into his house and he's like, oh, where'd that kid go? He ran off to that place again. It kind of gives clarification of that, because a mother with her son gets stolen out of the window, and then she follows suit, but then Mike catches her and he's like, oh hey, your son's being taken away by this shadow figure, presumably Shadow Freddy. And so then he goes to Freddy's, and it's been abandoned for like a couple of years now at this point, or 30 years actually, yeah. And so
a couple years, 30.
yeah, a couple of years, you know. But
I mean, yeah, that's only like almost twice my age.
you know, just a couple. But yeah, anyways, they go there, and then they pretty much just deal with that whole situation. But it's interesting, and
The
it just gives
implication is that
clarification.
the son is the son of the man from Midnight Motorist.
Yes, but his father is dead, I think.
Huh,
So I don't know. It's weird. It's weird
But yeah,
because it
no.
doesn't entirely line up with like the characters.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
But-
too, a lot of people had a theory that Mike was always on to William to some extent from like the beginning,
Yeah.
ever since the Crying Child, and that Mike was the kid who broke out of the house and like ran, which would, and that the person sitting in the chair was William's wife, which that was one of the popular theories. Which I could see Mike growing very distant from his father very quickly following the deaths of Crying Child and Elizabeth. Which, you know, it's so weird to me that we still don't have a confirmed name for the Crying Child, but they confirmed
Yeah,
Elizabeth
it's
in
really
the game
odd.
she showed up
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
I've heard
Okay.
too many different things to know what to go with, to be honest.
I just say Crying Child, but if I ever give him a name, it's Evan, because that's just the most
Yeah.
popular one that everybody uses.
Is that
Yeah.
so? This is the child that got eaten by
Fredbear,
Yes.
the Fred
Alright.
Bear or whatever.
See,
it
I-
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that got found out, like from a couple sources, that got found out with Cassidy in the logbook, but I never heard
Yes.
about that as much. I'm not sure if it's just because.
But it's kind of like
fanfare, or
it's kind of a
Cassidy
loose
is-
theory.
Cassidy is the one the one Afton should not have killed / Golden Freddy, or at least if you believe
Oh,
the
yeah,
whole theory, one half
because
of
that's
Golden
the whole
Freddy.
thing where it's meant to be like true possessions,
The
right?
theory- so
Yeah.
the Fazbear Frights books during I believe it's specifically during the Stitch Wraith saga. There are two souls possessing a golden suit, and one of them is much more vengeful and I don't remember what. Shut
It
up!
was the
I
Stitch
slept at
Wraith.
3 in the morning. They were in the Stitch Wraith, yeah, right. So and one of them was much more vengeful than the other in nature. So this led to a lot of people believing that Scott was paralleling Golden Freddy, because this was around Ultimate Custom Night kind of time, to some extent. Like, Ultimate Custom Night was new enough that people were seeing the parallel here, and they believed
FNAF, when you tell them there will be parallels at the function.
yeah, FNAF ends when you draw two lines that run parallel to each other. But a lot of people believe that Golden Freddy is both Evan / Crying Child and Cassidy, which I can kind of get some level. It would show why Golden Freddy is conflicted about keeping Afton in purgatory, because on one hand, yeah, one of the souls was killed by Afton, the other is Afton's son. So, you know, as much as the son probably understands that dad did a bad, does he really want to see him suffer like this for that long? And so
I say I like it purely because all the fan content I've seen where they're just like hanging out is pretty wholesome.
Yeah, there's this headcanon that I saw someone post about, and I actually personally love this headcanon. And we always hear Cassidy referred to as the one you should not have killed, and nobody ever knows why, right? Like, we only know that Afton should not have killed them. We don't know why.
And to be fair, he shouldn't have killed any of them.
Well,
that's a different.
No, but there's a specific reason. And the specific reason is that Afton, the theory or the headcanon is that Afton had actually planned on murdering 4 children, because there were 4 suits and he was planning on putting them in there to hide them, right? And of course it eventually didn't work out well, because what had happened in this person's headcanon is while he was like finishing up with the 4th kid, Cassidy walked into the room, and Afton, in a moment of not wanting to get caught, killed Cassidy, and then realized, oh shit, there's not a 5th suit to put this kid in.
But there is.
But there isn't. The Fredbear suit is still around, but every instance of Golden Freddy has been entirely supernatural, implying that it's not Fredbear, but it's a manifestation of Fredbear, which I think spawns from the Crying Child half of the souls, which makes you really wonder at that point. My headcanon that I've always had is the amount of Remnant or agony can awaken certain spiritual abilities in an animatronic that others just don't have.
I mean, that explains.
I think that's why Golden Freddy has a suit, but is also visibly incorporeal and like can go through.
I've got
stuff like that.
I don't mean to bring up AR as like a serious thing, but that's also a thing in Special Delivery where like you give. I quite liked Special Delivery. I think Illumix just handled it poorly. Anyway.
Yes.
It brings up a thing too where like when you have like your animatronics that you control, you give them more Remnant, you go send them to like your buddies, they're more difficult to deal with, more unstable, hence more spiritually active, whatever you said.
Right, yeah.
Right, so my thought is that
I walk a little bit that attracts.
My thought could be that both of them, that there is a physical suit for Golden Freddy. That could be my thought. But I think that because there's 2 souls inhabiting it, it gains abilities that the other animatronics don't have. Incorporeality and things like that. It makes sense because, you know, you stop and think about it. How are there 2 souls in one entity if there's no entity for them to share?
Yeah.
Fused together.
I've also got my own, well, not my own, but a theory that I saw online concerning Golden Freddy, and specifically the one you should not have killed, being that what if William put that 5th kid in a springlock suit, and instead of killing him like with a knife or something, or however he killed the other kids, it was a springlock failure that killed Golden Freddy. That would also tie
because there is mention of a springlock failure at one of the locations, and we haven't really heard anything about that. So
it was really vague. I remember. Yeah.
We haven't even seen anything to confirm like they haven't even shown anything to confirm like who was the failure, right? Like off of the fact that it's being mentioned in the place it's being mentioned, which again, correct me if I'm wrong, was a phone guy message.
Yes.
that would imply that it was an employee. But Scott, again, doesn't really do implications like that. He'll tell you or he won't. So the fact that he isn't is telling you that there's multiple potential answers.
And also another thing for the theory is that if we are saying that the puppet also stuffed the kids in the suits because of the heads that she puts on them, Golden Freddy never gets a head put on him.
Right,
His
which
head,
also... Yep.
It attacks the screen.
It jumps out of the screen. Yeah,
But
I
it's
remember
never
that. Yeah.
put on the
Quite
actual
peculiar.
kid.
Well, I also do think that implies the headcanon. That's why I accept the headcanon I accept that Cassidy was never stuffed into a suit. Because it would make more sense that way than because we don't visibly see the puppet putting a suit on Cassidy. Maybe the puppet didn't know where Fredbear was when she showed up. Maybe she didn't know where the Fredbear suit was and had to leave Cassidy's
That is
body.
possible.
Or maybe Cassidy's body was hidden. Maybe Afton hid it somewhere before he left because, whatever. Which I think that's the least likely of the
And I
options.
feel like
Why would he hide one of them and not the others? But like,
I mean, he is a serial killer. He could have literally just got done with all of them and been like, I kind of want to do something even more gruesome with this one. Let me shove him in a spring lock suit and trap him.
no,
He felt quirky.
Afton's a killer, but I think we're long past the phase where Afton can be described as the typical definition of insane. The best way I can describe it is he's not the Joker. He's not the Joker. He's Bane. I think is the best way to describe it. He is definitely insane, but he's insane.
Like a psycho.
Yeah, he's insane, but he has a goal. He's a psychopath. He's closer to that because he's not look at me laugh maniacally like everybody thought he was. He is a mad scientist pushing his research towards immortality.
Yeah.
Damn.
Fair enough.
The fucked
Because
up
that's
thing is,
his
he
end
did technically
goal is he wants to know how to be immortal. He wants to live forever.
Dude, I love that. So
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
love.
It's awesome.
That's
I
why
love my little Willy boy.
Well, that's why to me. That's why to
It's
me, I'm
such
really
a
hoping
good,
if there's one
like-
scene they carry over from the books into the movies in the movie trilogy, the one scene I want adapted, obviously it's going to be Mike instead of Charlie, blah blah blah, is Springtrap's introduction from the Twisted Ones, because I can totally imagine William just triumphantly declaring, I am Springtrap. Like
I
have
am
done it.
agony.
I am immortal. I cannot be killed. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
love
am
that he
already
made
gone.
that name, by
Yeah.
the way. That's his little OC, dude.
Right. It's his persona.
Anyways, speaking of the movie.
Dude,
Real.
I didn't know the movies are gonna be a trilogy. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, the
That-
movie.
okay,
The movies.
that's a plan. It's a plan. We don't
Scott,
know.
Scott said that if the first one did well, there would be a trilogy. Both
Matthew
the 2 and
Lillard already
3,
has the contract.
2 and 3 being based on the game on 2 and 3 respectively. But it's also been more than confirmed because Matthew Lillard signed on for 3 movies.
Okay, so there's just gonna be like
Common
unlimited movies
Shaggy
basically, because
W.
every single one's
No.
gonna be popular.
Yeah.
No, because
Points,
Scott-
man.
Universe is
No,
gonna
no, no,
push
no,
him.
No. So Scott has actually specifically explained that he's not doing these movies for the sake of like rebuilding the timeline completely. He has actually explained that what we're going to see with these 3 movies is the story he would have wanted to tell in the original trilogy.
That is
and,
awesome.
And couldn't due to either game restrictions or maybe he didn't have these ideas fleshed out enough at the time. I
Yeah.
I
You're
actually
saying we're
personally
getting,
think
like a retelling of
yes,
like part of not part of wrong
the
franchise
trilogy.
of 1 to 3, but that's technically what we should be following instead.
No. It's a completely different
Okay.
universe. So the books, the games, and the movies will all be like. And when I say the books, I mean
It's a Silver Eye situation.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
With the books is like the novel trilogy. The novel trilogy, the movie trilogy, and the games are all in completely separate timelines.
I was
They're all-
talking
they're
to
all
Yeah.
universe.
like,
I'm excited to
Corky
see the
about
mimic
this.
in the movie.
Oh yeah, guys. No, okay, so I already have my predictions, and I can't wait to go see if it's true, because I'm actually going to see the movie with a friend. My prediction is the
I'm
movie
seeing
is
the
going
movie
to
with
end.
multiple friends.
I think the movie's
Damn.
going to have a lot of
Same.
Silver Eyes
Popular.
influence, down to the point where I think
Yeah.
the movie's going to end with Mike springlocking William.
Probably, yeah.
And then
I
the
better
That would
not
be
be
interesting.
any fucking Charlie bots. I hated the Charlie bot.
Oh no,
plot.
I
Oh,
really
man.
hope they don't fucking drag it. Mike's a robot guy.
So
I just can't wait.
fucking
I can't wait to
Don't
see
do
how
that,
the
that's
animatronics
great.
are portrayed.
It made
Because like,
So
Yeah.
they've been confirmed
Twisted
that
Ones and Fourth Closet had such good concepts, but because they dragged out the Charlie bot stuff, I was like,
yeah.
oh, come
So,
here.
so Prod with the animatronics, they've confirmed that the only one that doesn't abide by this is Foxy. Foxy is always an animatronic.
The
simply
one who
because-
caught on fire.
Yeah,
Yes.
Foxy's arm caught on
Because
fire.
he's a twink. You can't fit anyone
Yeah,
in a
he's
suit.
too slim. But all of the other ones have both actual animatronics and then people in suits.
Have you guys seen
I'm so
the,
excited
to see that,
the
because if they
videos
got the
from
actual
Doctor?
animatronics,
Do a
then you
fucking
could also apply
good
special
job.
effects to it, and like you
Yeah.
could do some really amazing stuff.
Well,
with that.
well, actually,
But,
if
yeah.
you, I don't know if you watch 8-Bit Ryan, Prod, but he recently
I do not.
uploaded. He recently uploaded a little bit of his vlog because, as you might know, he and a couple other YouTubers were flown out to the set.
I watched
He uploaded what he's currently allowed to show before the movie
Yeah.
drops. He says he's gonna upload the rest after. But in the vlog, it shows them like interacting with the band. But Foxy is the only one who's an animatronic. The rest of them are actually the suit actors.
Well,
And
no,
you
they're
can-
all
Oh.
animatronics.
No, they're not. Their heads are controlled by animatronic mechanisms by an offstage puppeteer. But it was confirmed later that there was the three of them in
Was
the suit.
it? Oh,
Yep.
I didn't know.
They're all
Yeah,
in
they've got
And-
like
You can tell.
animatronic double.
Yeah, the face, the eyes, like all of that, animatronically controlled. But
Oh, yeah,
if you
but-
look at the limbs on the animatronic suit versions, you can see like the robot joints in their arms and legs. You can't see those on the suits in the end of Ryan's vlog. So it's people in the suits. You can also tell because they humanly react to things. Like when Baz hugs Bonnie, Freddy looks like he's starting to cry, and then Ryan's like, "Oh, I'll give you a hug, Freddy," and he hugs him, and Freddy hugs him back.
Aww.
They
I gotta
can't.
be honest.
You
the,
could probably program an animatronic to do that, but that'd be like way too much for a fucking movie.
I gotta be honest.
I'm
The
gonna be real,
Freddy
you
actor
know?
absolutely carried. The
Yep.
Freddy actor did such a good job.
And so,
you know what?
Yes.
You know what was really funny to me?
yeah,
Dawko hugging Chica, but Chica looked like she absolutely wanted to fucking kill him.
yeah.
Yeah,
She
Like
was-
it was
she
just this
got
endless
mad
fucking
in, like, the
glare of
second
like,
half
don't
of
you
their
fucking
hangout.
touch me.
And so, like the thing too is, I
She was a
I
bitch, I
like
love her.
the fact that you didn't know that, Kauflee, is a testament to how
Yeah, it
well
is
the
really
suit
good.
actors do at portraying robots.
yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Because
Dawko
all their
has
movements
briefly talked
looked
about it.
really robotic.
Dawko briefly talked in his about how they saw like I'm not sure if they were talking to like the suit actors or if they just like saw them getting ready for a shoot or whatever. But he was talking about how they had like specifically choreographed movements and how
Yeah.
they looked really good.
Damn.
I
Sassy, what are
think
you excited
I think
for?
he talked briefly. He kind of just saw like, oh, they looked like real robots anyway.
Yeah,
I know
number-
Mark said he was supposed to be part of the FNAF movie, but due to scheduling conflicts with Iron Lung, he wasn't able to be part of it. Also,
but-
hot take,
Ooh, damn.
Yeah.
hot take,
See ya.
I hot take. I really do not want Matt Pat to be part of the movie. I feel like it would just
I think
ruin.
they could
I
delegate
think it'd
him
be
to a-
fine.
I think they
I
could do
feel
what
like it
Marvel
would ruin
does.
the immersion.
I think they
So
could
you'd
do
be
what
excited
Marvel-
to not see MatPat in the story, in the movie?
Yeah. Well, I
Okay,
think they could
yeah.
do what Marvel does, and that's a fucking crazy statement. Is I think Five Nights at Freddy's could do what Marvel does, but usually in
You're on
Marvel movies tend to have two post-credits scenes. One that's more serious, it teases like the next project, and then like a more funny one. I think the funny one would work for MatPat. The movie's already over, the story's done. You can have a little joke. I even make a joke of like some grizzled detective sitting at a table, and he's like, I don't know what to make of this. What do you got for this, partner? And just MatPat leans in and he goes, well, I have a theory, and the credits roll.
I mean, they did.
No,
They
the
should
same
just
thing
do the.
with
They should do the
Corey.
Rick
I bet
Astley.
Corey had like a little.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Get Fred rolled.
I
I'm
know-
excited
know-
for Corey.
I know one thing people are wanting for MatPat is for him to be a conspiracy theorist.
I think it'd be funny, but I also feel like the thing
Yeah.
about cameos like those is those really do. I mean, I guess I could say they take away the immersion, but that's a lie because Corey's cameo felt very natural from what I've seen so far.
And like
What-
MatPat
What
is
could
like
that
a theater
Oh, yeah.
major, so like he'd be perfectly fine in the movie.
I think he'd be able to act. He's
yeah,
really
he'd do great.
like literally look at him and Mark. They are both very capable of acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Mark's in like a full movie. He's doing
He's
Iron
not just,
Lung.
yeah, he's not just in
Not
it.
to
he's
mention
directing,
Space with
he's writing it.
Markiplier,
Markiplier, Dave with Markiplier,
Heist.
Heist with Markiplier, all his projects. Like he's
Yeah.
A Dave
Yeah.
with Markiplier.
and,
That's-
and
that was
some-
really
some
good.
Of those, and some of those feature MatPats. So
Yeah, Rod, I bet you do want to go on a date with
It's-
Markiplier, huh?
I
Oh
got
my
the
God.
Darkiplier ending the
Like,
first
Listen,
time.
okay,
It was
I
awesome.
know-
I've seen Matt Pat's like theater work, and I don't want to make a comment because I'm like publicly like taken, but like I've seen the Matt Pat theater work.
Lovely.
Hey, hey,
Yes.
hey.
Anyway.
You guys can cut that out.
So,
that was
Tavis,
awesome.
That out.
what are you excited for in the movie?
Excited for in the movie. Other than the obvious answer of seeing Foxy on the big screen, because my status definitely hasn't been counting that down for months. Honestly, I'm just excited to see how they handle the scares because
There was a statement about that actually. Emma Tammy confirmed that the kills are gory in nature, but they get around it a lot by showing like just the shadows, which is I actually expected that. I expected that if they show spring locking, they're gonna show like his shadow convulsing against a wall or something like that.
And then like a big
Yes.
old like.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's cool, but
I'm-
also a little bit disappointed.
As
Well,
I- as-
I'm hoping.
they also have a rated R version, so I would
Oh, okay.
still keep some hopes up.
Oh, they're gonna.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
because
Oh,
like
I gotta
the
see
thing,
that.
the thing with Blumhouse, and they've done this with like a lot of their horror movies, is the theater version will be PG-13, but then the Blu-ray DVD release will be rated R.
Possibly even
Yeah.
the digital, considering it's a simultaneous release on Peacock as well.
I
Yeah.
love Blumhouse. Can I just say?
Yeah.
Oh, Blumhouse.
Because like I
Oh.
have,
What?
I have,
Okay,
like,
Kauflee,
whoa, I wasn't doing all that.
Kauflee.
Yeah.
Pizza said,
Kauflee,
Pizza said, no, I say all that now. I did not say all that now.
don't make me
Hey,
get the
listen.
brew.
We need the bug.
I
We need the bug
I have
stick.
like, I have like DVD. I have like a 10 DVD like thing of Blumhouse movies, and all of them are rated R when the theater versions were PG.
Can I have it?
Y'all,
Yeah.
do y'all
Or, like,
remember,
censored.
do y'all remember,
No, you cannot have it. Fuck
do
off.
y'all remember that
Nope.
one video that went viral for like a day? And it was the guy who was like, hey, Markiplier, how many days until the FNAF movie? Hit space, 87. Hit space again. All right, thanks, man.
Oh yeah. Alright, yo. I guess I think that's a good place to
Yeah.
wrap up.
It's
yep.
it's 2 hours long.
Yep. And
It's
I am.
really-
I'm
You know
up
what?
for
You
it.
guys
Podcast
said a lot of
timing.
stuff isn't that long, but I
Yeah.
reckon would be fine.
Hey, you know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
We managed to wait out the entire voice chat while waiting for Prod to come back by me just showing Tavis and Sassy a shit ton of nerdcore music. So
Oh yeah.
And in return, I showed them FNF.
yep.
This isn't a
Yes.
real podcast, guys. We haven't talked enough about the society red pill yet.
Oh,
All right,
man.
guys.
But what,
Oh, God,
what about
please.
Foxy
Wow.
Boo?
I did now. Hit the stop record.
All right, guys. Make sure to subscribe to GenichRis University.
Jesus Christ.
University.
Make sure to subscribe to SassyDemon and to tune in whenever the fuck I upload.
We'll include everyone's socials in the description. How about that?
Guys,
Yeah,
make
for
sure
sure.
to stream.
Yeah.
Make sure to stream. Make sure to stream a song. That new song about my crippling anxiety and depression on Spotify now.
No.
Oh, that'll
Really?
work.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
that'll
stream that. You
A
know
good
what?
thing-
Fuck
a
you.
good thing, you know, it's a very positive thing to wash down the discussion about mimicking robots and child murder we've had for the last 2 hours.
Mimic.
Yeah. Mimic.
After all that, I
don't
still
have
don't
anything to
understand a
plug,
damn thing about
but,
the FNAF story.
You should
Thanks,
probably,
yo.
you should probably play Ruin. Play Ruin.
Yeah.
Play
That's
Ruin.
probably
Dreams
something I
Sneaking Out of
really have to
Heaven
do.
by Waterparks.
Yeah.
Play
Oh.
Ruin. Don't bother playing Security Breach. We all know how that
Alright, guys.
monstrosity turned out.
I
Just play Ruin.
quite like
Get ready,
Security
everyone.
Breach.
Alright,
Security
guys, here we
Breach
go.
is
I'm
great.
gonna do an improv outro for the podcast just off the top of my head.
God.
3:30 a.m. Chris. All right, here we go. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to leave a like, comment, whatever it is you're able to do on whatever platform this is available on. This has been the ProdCast. You guys have been amazing.
Pizza
and,
Foghorn him.
I'm
Oh,
leaving.
shit,
I'm
I-
leaving. You ruined it. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Bye.
All I care about is if you add this video to watch later. See ya.